Chapter 14. In the room, Zhou Donghuang was concentrating on practicing the Lord of the Four Supremes. The meridians in his body were expanding, and the qi accumulated in them was increasing. Suddenly, an anxious and panicked shout came from outside the door, "Young Master! Young Master! Grandma Lian?" Hearing the voice, Zhou Donghuang's expression changed. He jumped off the bed and ran out of the room. "Granny Lian, what's wrong? What happened? Why are you so flustered?" "Young Master, the people of the Wang family are here, led by the level 2 Wang family patriarch, Wang Yukuan, and they are just outside the door. Miss didn't allow me to tell you. She took the two of us out." In a few words, Granny Lian explained what had happened outside. When Granny Lian said that Lin Lan was willing to take 3 blows from Wang Yukuan for him, his expression changed completely. "Mother!" Zhou Donghuang was furious and wanted to rush out immediately, but Granny Lian held him back. "Granny Lian, what are you doing?" Zhou Donghuang glared angrily at Granny Lian, as if he wanted to devour her. Granny Lian trembled in fear, but she gritted her teeth and said, "Young Master, I am telling you this because I want to know if you can help Mistress out of her predicament. If you can't even deal with that Wang Yukuan, even if I die, I won't let you out. Because before Miss took me out, she told me that as long as there was a chance, she would let me take you away. If you can't deal with Wang Yukuan, I can only take you away. If you insist on leaving, there's only one way out, and that's to step over my dead body." Granny Lian stood in front of Zhou Donghuang, her tone so determined that no one dared to doubt her determination. Lin Lan did not let Granny Lian tell Zhou Donghuang about this matter. She only asked Granny Lian to come back and think of a way to knock Zhou Donghuang unconscious and take him away while she held back the Wang family. Granny Lian had revealed the matter to see if Zhou Donghuang had a way to deal with Wang Yukuan. Although she didn't think it was possible, she still decided to give it a try. After all, this young master had given her too many surprises during this period of time. "Granny Lian, come with me." Hearing Granny Lian's words, Zhou Donghuang took a deep breath. After calming his agitated emotions, his eyes shone with murderous intent. Granny Lian's eyes lit up. Looking at the young master's posture, was he really confident? Just as Granny Lian was in a daze, Zhou Donghuang had already bypassed her and was sprinting away at a speed that left a level 1 adept like her in the dust. Young master's speed, Granny Lian's eyes narrowed, and her expression was one of shock as she gave chase. Outside the main doors of the Magnolia Guild. Bang! As a level 2 adept of qi gathering, Wang Yukuan's full strength was equivalent to the strength of 2 oxen, and with just one palm, he sent Lin Lan flying, crashing into a pillar at the entrance of the Magnolia Guild. She fell heavily to the ground, her breath weak and blood spurting from her mouth. "Mother!" Zhou Donghuang had just come out when he saw this scene, and his eyes were filled with rage. He immediately ran to Lin Lan's side and poured a bottle of medicine into her mouth. "Mother, swallow it. This is the wound-healing powder I concocted." After confirming that Lin Lan's injuries were not life-threatening, Zhou Donghuang heaved a sigh of relief and stood up. His gaze turned cold and landed on Wang Yukuan. Zhou Donghuang. Behind Wang Yukuan, Wang Feng also jumped off his horse and stood beside Wang Yukuan, glaring angrily at Zhou Donghuang as if he wanted to devour Zhou Donghuang. "You are Zhou Donghuang?" Just then, Wang Yukuan's gaze also landed on Zhou Donghuang, and he smiled. "This foster mother of yours is really good to you. In order to protect you, she was willing to take 3 blows from me. It's a pity that after my first blow, she couldn't stand up. If I had another blow, she would have died without a doubt." "You've saved her life by coming out," Yi Zichen said. "Otherwise, it would not have been just you who would have died today, but she too." Wang Yukuan looked at Zhou Donghuang as if he were looking at a dead man, and in his eyes, Zhou Donghuang was indeed no different from a dead man. "Donghuang," Lin Lan struggled to stand up, but in her severe injuries, she had no strength to do so, and just as she struggled to get up with both hands, she fell back down again. "Granny Lien, take good care of my mother." Just then, Granny Lien came out as well, and Zhou Donghuang turned back to instruct her, his gaze once again landing on Wang Yukuan. "Wang Yukuan, is it?" Zhou Donghuang grinned, revealing 2 rows of snow-white teeth. Instead of being angry, he smiled brilliantly. "Today, to be able to die at my hands, you have lived a worthy life." Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Wang Yukuan was stunned, and so was Wang Feng. Everyone else was stunned. No one had expected Zhou Donghuang to say something like that at this moment. From what he said, he still wanted to fight Wang Yukuan. "Donghuang." Lin Lan's expression changed, and she tried to stand up again, but was stopped by Granny Lien. "Miss, don't you think young master is very confident now?" Thinking of Zhou Donghuang's speed just now, Granny Lien could not hide the shock in her eyes. "Confident?" Lin Lan was stunned, and she looked at Zhou Donghuang's back. She saw him standing there with his hands behind his back, unmoving, and exuding a strong sense of confidence. "Ha ha 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 ha," Wang Feng laughed so hard that tears streamed down his face. "Zhou Donghuang, I think you've lost your mind after seeing your mother injured so badly. You think you're fit to fight my grandfather?" Wang Feng's tone was full of disdain. The onlookers all shook their heads. No one thought that Zhou Donghuang had the ability to fight Wang Yukuan. In Qingshan town, Zhou Donghuang was a well-known martial invalid. And Wang Yukuan was a level 2 adept, known as the blood-handed butcher. The two were not even on the same level. In front of the latter, the former was like a baby in front of an adult, and the latter could easily strangle the former. If there was anyone else besides Granny Lien who had a glimmer of hope for Zhou Donghuang, it would be a middle-aged man standing in the corner of the crowd. This middle-aged man was the guild master of the Sunset Guild, Hong Yu. "This Zhou Donghuang is not so simple. That day, he defeated me with at least 1,000 gene of strength. Otherwise, would not have been defeated so badly." Hong Yu still felt a lingering fear when he thought of the day he and Chen Dandan had been defeated by Zhou Donghuang at the Magnolia Guild. He knew very well that this adopted son of the guild master of the Magnolia Guild, Lin Lan, was not so simple. Of course, subconsciously, he did not think that Zhou Donghuang could compare to Wang Yukuan. After all, Wang Yukuan was a level 2 adept with the strength of 2 bulls, and he was one of the strongest men in Qingshan town. "Qin Fei, do you remember?" Zhong Gang looked at Qin Fei. 2 days ago, in the earthly booth of Yunxian restaurant, Zhou Donghuang said that even if the level 2 adept of the Wang family came looking for trouble, he would be able to kill him with a single slap. As he spoke, Zhong Gang began to laugh to himself. Qin Fei wanted to laugh, but when he saw Qin Xiaoyu not far away, he could only hold it in. "Zhou Donghuang." Zhong Yi looked at Zhou Donghuang and laughed loudly. 2 days ago, didn't you say that even if the old man of the Wang family came looking for trouble, you would be able to kill him with a single slap? Now, you have the chance, how about you demonstrate it to us? Zhong Yi's smile became even more radiant as he said this. "I heard that too. Zhou Donghuang, we'll see how you perform next." Zhong Xiu also joined in the ridicule. "Big brother Donghuang, does he really have the confidence to deal with this old man of the Wang family?" At this moment, reminded by the 3 Zhong siblings, Qin Xiaoyu also recalled what Zhou Donghuang had said in the earthly booth of Yunxian restaurant 2 days ago. At that time, her big brother Donghuang had said 3 things that no one believed he could do. First, he had said that he did not care whether the Magnolia Guild closed down. No one had believed him at first, but after learning that he was the new owner of Yunxian restaurant, no one dared to doubt his words. Second, he had said that he could kill the level 2 adept of the Wang family with a single slap, a promise that had not yet been realized. Third, he had said that he could eat for free at Yunxian restaurant and that he was the owner of Yunxian restaurant. These had all been personally verified by Chief Steward Li Xian of Yunxian Restaurant and were indeed true. Big Brother Dong Huang has done these two things, perhaps Big Brother Dong Huang can do the last one as well? At this thought, Qin Xiaoyu's eyes lit up with hope. Of course, Qin Xiaoyu was still young and had not started practicing, so there were many things she did not understand. Otherwise, she would not have thought of it this way. As the Zhong siblings spoke, the crowd burst into an uproar. This Zhou Donghuang, he actually said something like that? Is he crazy? Was what he said just now not crazy? More and more gazes fell on Zhou Donghuang, but most of these gazes were filled with pity. Most people thought that Zhou Donghuang was crazy. Otherwise, how could he have said something like that? Outside the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild, Zhou Donghuang glanced lightly at the Zhong siblings before turning his gaze back to Wang Yukuan. Make your move. I'm in a hurry to send my mother back to rest. Although Zhou Donghuang's tone was calm, the murderous intent in the depths of his eyes grew stronger and stronger. Lad, you are not worthy of the old patriarch to make his move. Just as Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, a gaunt old man behind Wang Yukuan had already leapt off his horse, his figure sweeping through the air and descending in Zhou Donghuang's direction. Watch me capture you and let first young master kill you personally. As the old man swooped down towards Zhou Donghuang in mid-air, his right hand stretched out like a claw and grabbed at Zhou Donghuang's neck. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang's expression did not change, and his body did not move. Finally, just as the old man's hand was about to touch him, he slowly tilted his head to the side. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang's tilt of his head was like a stroke of genius, causing the old man's hand to grab thin air. Just as the crowd was shocked by this scene, and before they could recover from their shock, Zhou Donghuang's right hand had already swept out like lightning. Bang! His palm rose and fell, leaving a trail of afterimages as it landed on the old man's head. Like a ferocious tiger descending a mountain, the terrifying impact exploded, and the old man collapsed with a thud, completely lifeless. Chapter 15. His ability seems to be even stronger than before. In the crowd, Guild Master Hong Yu of the Sunset Guild swallowed hard, and when he looked again at the youth standing not far away, the fear in his eyes intensified. When the second elder of the Wang family had struck, he had known that the second elder of the Wang family was in trouble. The second elder of the Wang family was about as strong as he was, and if even he had been beaten so badly by Zhou Donghuang, the second elder of the Wang family would not be an exception. But what he did not expect was that, in just one move, Zhou Donghuang had killed the second elder of the Wang family, who was about as strong as he was, and he had demonstrated an even more terrifying ability than that day. Is this Zhou Donghuang really a martial invalid who cannot practice qi? Even though the young mistress of the Hong family of the prefecture capital, Chen Dandan, had told him this herself, Hong Yu still did not believe it. Now, only Hong Yu, Granny Lian, and Lin Lan were sober, and they had all seen Zhou Donghuang's ability. A mere level 1 adept of qi gathering was no match for Zhou Donghuang. But the others were different. Seeing the second elder of the Wang family attack Zhou Donghuang preemptively and be killed by Zhou Donghuang, everyone, including the Grand Patriarch of the Wang family, Wang Yukuan, was shocked into a daze. Second elder. Red Crane Wang, the patriarch of the Wang family, turned pale when he regained his senses. When his attention shifted from the corpse on the ground to the young man, he could not help but reveal a look of disbelief in his eyes. Wasn't this Zhou Donghuang a martial invalid? How could a martial invalid kill the second elder of the Wang family? And the expressions of the other members of the Wang family changed completely. Wang Feng, the first young master of the Wang family, was trembling with fear, and when he thought of how Zhou Donghuang had only maimed his arm that day, he could not help but feel a sense of relief. How is this possible? He killed the second elder of the Wang family? In the crowd, Qin Fei and the three Zhong siblings were stunned. They would never have dreamed that such a thing would happen. Zhou Donghuang, a martial invalid, had killed the second elder of the Wang family, a level 1 adept of qi gathering. Moreover, he had killed the second elder of the Wang family in one move after the first strike. Brother Donghuang. Qin Xiaoyu's eyes lit up. Her fists, which had been tightly clenched due to her nervousness, relaxed at this moment. This, Qin Zhen, who was standing beside Qin Xiaoyu, had a shocked expression on his face. His contracted pupils were filled with disbelief. The second elder of the Wang family was a level 1 adept of qi gathering who was even stronger than him, but in the blink of an eye, he had died at the hands of a youth who was widely regarded as a martial invalid. Was this young man still the martial arts cripple of the past? At this moment, the crowd of onlookers was boiling with excitement. Oh my God! I'm not dreaming, am I? The second elder of the Wang family, a level 1 adept of qi gathering, died at the hands of Zhou Donghuang? Isn't Zhou Donghuang a martial invalid? How could he kill a level 1 adept? Is it because he was careless? Careless? They were facing each other and could see each other's moves. Zhou Donghuang dodged his attack, but he did not dodge Zhou Donghuang's palm. How is this carelessness? It's clearly the difference in their abilities. When Zhou Donghuang crippled the arm of the first young master of the Wang family, Wang Feng, I felt that it was unlikely that he was a martial invalid, but even so, I never thought that he would have the ability to kill a level 1 adept of qi gathering. He's only 16 years old, and he can already kill a level 1 adept of qi gathering? Even the most outstanding disciples of preeminent families like the Lin family of the prefecture capital or the Hong family of the prefecture capital might not be able to kill a level 1 adept of qi gathering at this age, right? Gazes filled with shock and disbelief fell on Zhou Donghuang, causing him to become the focus of everyone's attention. Zhou Donghuang, a 16-year-old youth, had killed the second elder of the Wang family, a level 1 adept of qi gathering, in just one move. After today, regardless of whether Zhou Donghuang survived, he would become a legend in Qingshan town. I've misjudged you. I never thought that a young youth like you would have such ability. Wang Yuquan looked at Zhou Donghuang intently and said coldly, if you can continue to grow, your future will be limitless. It's a pity that today, you're destined to die at my hands. To be able to kill a genius like you while I'm still alive is not a waste of my life. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Yuquan looked at Zhou Donghuang with a bloodthirsty, murderous look in his eyes. You think you can kill me? Zhou Donghuang laughed brilliantly, as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Rascal, since you're so eager to die, I'll send you on your way. Seeing Zhou Donghuang laugh at him, Wang Yuquan's expression turned cold, and with a shake of his body, he sprinted towards Zhou Donghuang like a cheetah. In the eyes of the onlookers, Wang Yuquan seemed to turn into a gust of wind, and as he sprinted, he struck out with his palm towards Zhou Donghuang. Donghuang! Lin Lan's heart was in her throat. Young master. Granny Lian looked at Zhou Donghuang's back, her eyes full of anticipation. A mere level 2 adept of qi gathering dares to talk about killing me, Zhou Donghuang? What a joke! At the same time that Wang Yuquan rushed out, Zhou Donghuang's figure swayed, and he met Wang Yuquan's attack head-on. In the eyes of the onlookers, it was as if Zhou Donghuang had sent himself right into Wang Yuquan's palm. As a level 2 adept of qi gathering, Wang Yuquan's palm contained the strength of 2 bulls, and it cut through the air, creating a gust of wind. Die! Seeing that Zhou Donghuang had delivered himself to his doorstep, Wang Yuquan sneered, and with a cold shout, his palm whistled towards Zhou Donghuang's chest. Donghuang! Young master! Seeing that Wang Yuquan's palm was only inches away from Zhou Donghuang's chest, Lin Lan's expression changed, and Granny Lian's confidence in Zhou Donghuang began to waver. Die! The corners of Qin Fei and the 3 Zhong siblings' mouths curled up into brilliant smiles at the same time. Big brother Donghuang. Qin Xiaoyu's expression changed, and beside her, Qin Zhen gave a long sigh. Heaven is jealous of the talented. Just as everyone thought that Zhou Donghuang was about to lose his life to Wang Yuquan's palm, whoosh! Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang's feet shook as they touched the ground, and he displayed a movement technique. Two afterimages appeared under his feet, and his entire person was like a ghost as he avoided Wang Yuquan's full-force palm strike that contained the strength of two bulls. Never in his wildest dreams did Wang Yuquan expect that his palm would miss. The moment his target disappeared from his sight, his expression changed completely. Now, he wanted to retreat, but the force of his palm and the inertia of his body were too great, and he could not stop himself in time. Whoosh! In the instant that Zhou Donghuang avoided Wang Yuquan's thunderous palm, he moved like a ghost again, and in the blink of an eye, he was behind Wang Yuquan, who could not possibly turn around in time. It's over. Zhou Donghuang's gaze was cold, and his palms tightened. The maximum strength of his muscles exploded, and the qi in his meridians surged to his palms as he struck Wang Yuquan's neck. Whoosh! Crack! In the instant that his palm struck Wang Yuquan's neck, more than 1,000 caddies of force exploded, and it was as if an iron rod that weighed 1,000 caddies had smashed down, directly breaking his cervical spine. With his cervical spine broken, Wang Yuquan's head fell to his shoulder, and he struggled to turn around. He wanted to reach out to point at Zhou Donghuang, but just as his hand reached out, he had already collapsed, his eyes wide and his face full of indignation. Boom! Wang Yuquan's body landed on the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. There was a dead silence. At this moment, everyone's gaze fell on Zhou Donghuang, as if they had seen a ghost. The previous chief of the Wang family, Wang Yuquan, who was known as the Bloody Butcher, had been killed by a single palm strike from this young man. Young master, Granny Lian's old face was full of shock. Originally, she had thought that her young master had a chance of standing up to Wang Yuquan and forcing him to retreat. But she had never imagined that her young master had actually killed Wang Yuquan. That was Wang Yuquan, the Bloody Butcher who had made a name for himself many years in Qingshan town, a level 2 adept of qi gathering, and not just anyone. Donghuang, Lin Lan was also shocked. Although she knew that her son's ability was not low, she had never imagined that he would be able to stand up to Wang Yuquan. She had never imagined that he had the ability to kill Wang Yuquan. Moreover, he had killed Wang Yuquan with one palm strike in a direct confrontation. Even if it was because of Wang Yuquan's carelessness, it could not hide the astonishing ability of her son. At least, under the circumstances where Wang Yuquan's palm strike was so close, even other level 2 adepts might not have been able to dodge it. But her son had dodged it. Hiss! 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 Among the crowd, there was the sound of people inhaling sharply, like the bellows used by the side of a stove, and it took a long time before it gradually stopped. Grandfather. Father. Patriarch. Wang Feng, Red Crane Wang, Bamboo Crane Wang, and the head elder of the Wang family, the remaining 4 members of the Wang family, let out shrill cries of grief as they recovered from the unbelievable scene before them. Wang Yuquan was the pillar of the Wang family. And now, the pillar had fallen. Without the support of a level 2 adept, could the Wang family still have its former glory? Just now, when the 6 members of the Wang family had ridden out of the Wang family home, they had looked so impressive, but now, 2 of them were dead, and the remaining 4 were like stray dogs, battered and exhausted. Now, do you believe me? After killing Wang Yuquan, Zhou Donghuang glanced at Qin Fei and the 3 Zhong brothers and asked calmly. The expressions of the 4 changed, and they did not dare to answer. They lowered their heads, not daring to look at Zhou Donghuang, and at the same time, their bodies began to tremble, afraid that Zhou Donghuang would settle the score with them. Zhong Yi was so frightened that he wet his pants. At the same time, Zhou Donghuang saw Qin Xiaoyu and her father, Qin Zhen, and nodded at them with a smile before turning back to Lin Lan. Mother, I'll send you back to rest. Zhou Donghuang picked Lin Lan up by the waist and returned to the Magnolia Guild, escorted by Granny Lien. Only when Zhou Donghuang's silhouette had disappeared from the sight of the crowd of onlookers did they come to their senses, their faces full of shock and horror. Everything they had seen today had completely overturned what they had known in the past. A 16-year-old youth had managed to kill a level 2 adept in a head-on confrontation. The people of Qingshan town would never forget this day, December 21, 1227 of the Ziyun era. On this day, the son of Guild Master Lin Lan of the Magnolia Guild, the 16-year-old Zhou Donghuang, had killed Wang Yuquan, a level 2 adept, outside the Magnolia Guild, and made a name for himself. Chapter 16. In Lin Lan's room. Zhou Donghuang sat on one side of the bed and said sternly to Lin Lan, who was half lying on the bed, "Mother, if you encounter something like this in the future, don't take it on yourself. I can carry my own weight now." Okay. Mother understands. Although Lin Lan's face was still a little pale, her face was full of smiles, and her eyes were full of relief. Yes. Unknowingly, her son had grown up and could carry his own weight now. Young master, young mistress did this because she did not know that you had the ability to kill Wang Yuquan of the Wang family. Granny Lien looked at Zhou Donghuang curiously. Young master, when you dodged Wang Yuquan's palm, did you use a swiftness technique? Just now, when Wang Yuquan had attacked Zhou Donghuang, everyone's attention had been on Wang Yuquan's palm. Only Granny Lien subconsciously glanced at Zhou Donghuang's feet, and saw that Zhou Donghuang's feet had made a miraculous step. Swiftness technique? Hearing Granny Lien's question to Zhou Donghuang, Lin Lan's eyes narrowed, and she looked at Zhou Donghuang in surprise. In the country of Yunyang, martial arts techniques were very rare and precious. In the country of Yunyang, the most widely used techniques were lesser-grade techniques. In the country of Yunyang, only the imperial family and the royal family had third-grade techniques. However, even lesser-grade techniques were not available in a small place like Qingshan town. Even the preeminent families of the prefecture capital had lesser-grade techniques, but only the children of the main family could practice them. Zhou Donghuang nodded. He had indeed used a swiftness technique called the star-stepping footwork, a third-grade swiftness technique. Although he had a lot of martial arts in his memory, with his current true qi, he could only perform third-rate martial arts at most. Although he understood second-rate martial arts and even stronger martial arts, the true qi in his body was simply not enough to display those martial arts. Now, his level of practice was too low, and although he had a brain full of precious techniques, he could only use third-grade techniques. My current cultivation level is too low, and the true qi in my body is thin. Just now, when I used the third-grade movement martial art, star-stepping steps, it consumed 1/3 of my true qi. Zhou Donghuang's heart skipped a beat. After that, I used the third-grade offensive technique, weighted sand palm, to kill Wang Yuquan. I almost used up all the qi in my body. Moreover, whether it is the star-stepping footwork or the weighted sand palm, the reason why they are so powerful is because of the extreme strength of my muscles. Thinking of this, Zhou Donghuang sighed to himself. His current level of practice was still too low. If he had attained level 1 of qi gathering, using these two techniques would not have depleted the qi in his body. Hiss! Hiss! With Zhou Donghuang's confirmation, both Granny Lien and Lin Lan could not help but gasp. They had never imagined that Zhou Donghuang had actually mastered a martial arts technique, and it was one of the rarer swiftness techniques. Of course, it was also because the two of them did not know that Zhou Donghuang was using a third-grade technique, or else they would have been even more shocked. Mother, rest well, when your body recovers, I will pass on the swiftness technique to you. Seeing the shock in Lin Lan's eyes, Zhou Donghuang could understand her feelings and said with a smile. Is that really possible? Lin Lan's eyes were filled with yearning, but she was also a little hesitant. After all, she did not know where her son had learned the technique and whether it would be convenient to pass it on to her. The Lin family of the prefecture capital also had a lesser-grade swiftness technique, but it was only an offensive technique, and in terms of value, it was not as valuable as a lesser-grade swiftness technique. However, even so, that martial art could only be practiced by the direct descendants of the Lin family and the elders of the branch families. A collateral descendant like Lin Lan had no right to practice it. But just because she did not have the right to practice it did not mean that she did not yearn for it. Of course. Zhou Donghuang nodded affirmatively and looked at Granny Lian, who was standing at the side. Even if Granny Lian wishes to learn it, I can pass it on to her as well. Young master, Zhou Donghuang's words made Granny Lian extremely excited. That was a martial arts technique, and it was a very precious thing even in the prefecture capital. As far as she knew, lesser-grade swiftness techniques were only available in the governor's household in the prefecture capital. The other preeminent families only had one or two lesser-grade offensive and defensive techniques at most. In a small place like Qingshan Town, a level 1 adept of Qi gathering, even if he had only practiced a lesser-grade technique, was enough to defeat any other level 1 adept who had not practiced any martial arts. Martial arts were the ultimate techniques that could be created by the application of Qi to an extremely high level. Although it was possible to create one, it was extremely difficult. Even if it was a lesser-grade martial art move, very few people could create it themselves. More people enjoyed the legacy of their ancestors. Granny Lian, take good care of my mother. I'm going out to do some things. Zhou Donghuang waited until Lin Lan had fallen asleep before he stood up and left Lin Lan's room after saying goodbye to Granny Lian. Everyone in Qingshan Town knows that I am now the owner of Yunxian Restaurant. Any normal person would think that I have a close relationship with the previous owner of Yunxian Restaurant, Xiaofan, and be wary of me, afraid to provoke me, deeply afraid that I have some close relationship with Xiaofan. Zhou Donghuang walked out of the Magnolia Guild, his expression still a little ugly as he thought of the day's events. He had never imagined that the Wang family would dare to come seeking revenge. Under normal circumstances, even if the Magnolia Guild had lost the support of the Lin family of the prefecture capital, his status as the owner of Yunxian Restaurant would still have been enough to intimidate the Wang family. But the Wang family had come knocking. This meant that the Wang family might have known something from somewhere. At least, the Wang family must have been certain that Zhao San would not make trouble for them because of him, which was why they had dared to do so. He had to get to the bottom of this. Now, the crowd at the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild had dispersed, and the Wang family had disappeared, taking with them the bodies of Wang Yukuan and the second elder of the Wang family. The Wang family. Zhou Donghuang walked out of the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild and went directly to the Wang family mansion, attracting many onlookers along the way. This young master Donghuang of the Magnolia Guild is going to the Wang family mansion? Looks like today's events are not over, but I never thought that he would have the ability to kill the bloody-handed butcher, Wang Yukuan. To think that we thought he was a martial invalid. If he was a martial invalid, what would we be? A martial invalid who is not even comparable to a martial invalid? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang came to the main entrance of the Wang family mansion, kicked it open with a loud bang, and strode in. However, the passers-by who had followed him did not dare to follow him in. After all, this was the Wang family mansion, and it was not a place that could be entered casually. If Zhou Donghuang entered the Wang family mansion and destroyed the entire Wang family, it would not be a big deal if they followed him in, but if he did not destroy the entire Wang family, the Wang family would definitely not let them off easily. Although they were curious, they did not dare to take the risk. About 15 minutes later, they saw Zhou Donghuang come out, and only came to their senses as they watched Zhou Donghuang's figure disappear at the end of the road. What's going on? He's out so soon. This little bit of time was definitely not enough to destroy the entire Wang family. In a moment, the crowd saw a few more disciples of the Wang family come out, repair and close the main door, and the Wang family mansion was once again peaceful. Yunxian Restaurant. In the heavenly dining booth. Zhou Donghuang sat cross-legged at the dining table, his left hand resting on the thigh of his raised left leg, his right hand on the table, his fingers bent and tapping lightly on the table. In front of him, the chief steward of Yunxian restaurant, Li Xian, stood there, his face pale and his whole body trembling violently. Li Xian, well done. Zhou Donghuang grinned. Young Master Donghuang, this old servant was wrong. Although Zhou Donghuang was smiling, Li Xian was so frightened that he fell to his knees with a thud, lowering his head in apology. Do you know, because of what you said, my mother is still lying in bed recovering from her injuries? The smile on Zhou Donghuang's face grew wider, but his gaze gradually turned cold, causing the temperature in the booth to drop several degrees in an instant. If I had not gone out in time, she would have died at the hands of Wang Yukuan. He had just made a trip to the Wang family and understood the entire sequence of events clearly. The patriarch of the Wang family, Red Crane Wang, had seen him like a mouse seeing a cat. Not to mention avenging Wang Yukuan, he had even wanted to drag his own son, Wang Feng, before Zhou Donghuang in the name of justice. In response to Zhou Donghuang's question, Red Crane Wang honestly confessed that it was because Li Xian had said that Zhao San would not stand up for him, so the Wang family had dared to block the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild. Young Master Donghuang, this old servant was wrong, please give this old servant a chance to redeem himself. Sensing the murderous intent in Zhou Donghuang's cold tone, Li Xian's body trembled even more, and his voice was filled with fear. On account of Zhao San, I will give you a quick death. Zhou Donghuang rose from his seat, his tone indifferent, deciding Li Xian's fate with a single sentence. Young Master Donghuang, you cannot kill me. You cannot kill me. In the face of death, Li Xian was somewhat panic-stricken. If you do not kill me, when my brother from the Li family arrives from the prefecture capital, I can persuade him to go back and not have any designs on your Yunxian restaurant. If you kill me, he will definitely be determined to get his hands on Yunxian restaurant. The Li family? The prefecture capital? Looks like you are from the Li family of the prefecture capital. Furthermore, you informed the Li family to come and seize my Yunxian restaurant? Zhou Donghuang had not expected that Zhao San would leave such a ticking time bomb for him before he left. Of course, he knew in his heart that this was not Zhao San's intention. Otherwise, Zhao San's gifting of Yunxian restaurant to him would have been an unnecessary gesture. When he had treated Zhao San's chronic illness, he had not made any demands, and it was Zhao San who had insisted on gifting Yunxian restaurant to him. The Li family of the prefecture capital, like the Lin family of the prefecture capital that backed the Magnolia Guild, and the Hong family of the prefecture capital that backed the Sunset Guild, were all preeminent families of the prefecture capital. But, do you think I would be afraid of your Li family? Zhou Donghuang laughed coldly as he kicked out with his foot, hitting Li Xian squarely in the chest. A terrifying force exploded, and Li Xian flew out like an arrow released from a bow, crashing into the wall with a loud crash. In the next moment, Li Xian's body scraped against the wall and fell heavily to the ground, completely lifeless. Chapter 17. When Zhou Donghuang entered Yunxian restaurant this time, the group of servant girls and waiters of Yunxian restaurant looked at him not only with respect, but also with admiration. Evidently, they already knew what had happened at the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild that afternoon. Now that Zhou Donghuang had killed Chief Steward Li Xian of Yunxian restaurant and walked out of Yunxian restaurant, the group of servant girls and waiters looked at him with more fear than before, as if he were some dreadful monster. What's your name? Zhou Donghuang asked the waiter who had followed him out of Yunxian restaurant as he turned around to see him off. This waiter was also the only person in the enormous Yunxian restaurant who dared to follow him out to see him off. Everyone else's legs were like lead, and they did not dare to move an inch. Boss, I'm called Ah Fu. The shop assistant was about 17 or 18 years old, tall and well-built, and in response to Zhou Donghuang's question, a simple and honest smile appeared on his face. Yes. In the next few days, you will be the acting chief steward of Yunxian restaurant, replacing Li Xian in managing Yunxian restaurant. If you do well, you will be the new chief steward of Yunxian restaurant. With that, before Fu could react, Zhou Donghuang had already turned and left. Thank you, boss. After a shudder, Fu finally recovered his senses and looked at Zhou Donghuang's receding figure from afar, his eyes and face full of excitement. As for the group of waiters and servant girls in Yunxian restaurant, when they heard what Zhou Donghuang had said to Fu, they wanted to slap themselves. Just now, why had they not followed him out like Fu had? However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Fu's bravery had given him a different treatment. After leaving Yunxian restaurant, Zhou Donghuang went to the Sunset Guild. Young Master Donghuang. In the hall of the Sunset Guild, Guild Master Hongyu welcomed Zhou Donghuang to the main seat with a humble smile on his face. I wonder what brings you here. In fact, Hongyu was still a little apprehensive. He was afraid that Zhou Donghuang would take his anger out on him because Chen Dandan had leaked the formula to the Sunset Guild. With the other party's strength, a single slap would be enough to kill him. I'll give you 2 days to gather all of these herbs for me. Zhou Donghuang asked for a pen and paper from Hongyu and wrote down the names of a bunch of herbs. Of course, I will not shortchange you. If you are unable to gather these herbs within 2 days, in the future, Yunxian restaurant will no longer lend money to the Sunset Guild. After putting down the paper filled with herbs, Zhou Donghuang rose from his seat and strode out of the hall of the Magnolia Guild. Only Hongyu was left holding the piece of paper filled with herbs, a bitter smile on his face. This young Master Donghuang is really giving me a hard time. Qingshan town won't be able to gather all these herbs in a short time. Looks like I can only send people to the neighboring towns at top speed. In this way, I should be able to gather these medicinal ingredients within 2 days. Like the Magnolia Guild, the Sunset Guild had to borrow money from Yunxian restaurant from time to time due to a lack of funds. Now that Zhou Donghuang was the owner of Yunxian restaurant, he only needed to say one word to sever the tacit lending relationship that had been established between Yunxian restaurant and the Sunset Guild for a long time, causing the Sunset Guild to run out of funds. Moreover, if Zhou Donghuang's Yunxian restaurant refused to lend money to the Sunset Guild, the lesser families of Qingshan town would certainly not dare to lend money to the Sunset Guild, for they would be afraid of offending Zhou Donghuang. Today, outside the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild, Zhou Donghuang stepped over Wang Yukuan's corpse and made a name for himself. From now on, Qingshan town will have one less Wang Yukuan and one more Zhou Donghuang. Hongyu knew that this was the general trend, and no matter how difficult the task that Zhou Donghuang had given him, he would do his best to carry it out. Walking out of the Magnolia Guild, Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed slightly. I have given Hongyu so much pressure, he should be able to gather all the herbs for me within 2 days, then, I will be able to formulate an even better qi-gathering elixir and increase the speed of my practice. In this way, I will be able to attain level 1 of qi-gathering even faster. The herbs that Zhou Donghuang had written down for Hongyu were herbs that the Magnolia Guild did not have. It would be difficult for Qingshan town to gather them in such a short time, but looking at the small towns around Qingshan town, they would most likely be able to gather them. On the way back to the Magnolia Guild, Zhou Donghuang remembered something. Today is the 21st of December 1227 of the Ziyun era. Tomorrow is the 22nd of December 1227 of the Ziyun era. In my previous life, it was tomorrow that the crazy Taoist appeared before me and took me to Earth. In my previous life, the crazy Taoist targeted me entirely because of the seal that Father placed in my body. Now that the seal in my body has been removed, he will definitely not target me like he did in my previous life and take me to Earth. However, although he will not take me with him, he will definitely go to Earth, because he was originally on his way to Earth when he passed by the planet of Ziyun and discovered the seal in my body. Delighted by the prospect, he brought me along with him to Earth. The crazy Taoist was a deranged, sloppily dressed old Taoist, and because of this, Zhou Donghuang called him the crazy Taoist. As for the origins of the crazy Taoist, he knew nothing. In his previous life, after the crazy Taoist helped him remove the seal in his body on Earth, he completely disappeared from his world, and even after he left Earth, he had never seen the crazy Taoist again. Earth, thinking of Earth, a look of nostalgia flashed across Zhou Donghuang's eyes. That beautiful blue planet was the one he had spent the longest time on in his previous life, and he viewed it as his home. Before going to Earth, he would never have dreamed that there would be such a unique planet, where martial arts had declined and technology was the dominant force. There were all sorts of magical means of transportation, such as bicycles, motorcycles, cars, trains, planes, and so on. It was only after a few days on Earth that he realized that even Singles' Day could become a shopping festival. In his previous life, when he arrived on Earth, it was the 5th of November 2018. The 11th of November 2018 was Singles' Day, and at the same time, it was a shopping festival. When I have the ability to travel through the stars with my own body, I still have to make a trip to Earth. There are some old friends there who have helped me a lot, and they are waiting for me to change their fates. In his previous life on Earth, Zhou Donghuang had gotten to know quite a number of people. These people had helped him not long after he had arrived on Earth. Later on, when some of them had encountered huge problems, he had also helped them solve them. In this life, he had not been brought to Earth by the crazy Taoist, so those people would never know him again. However, their problems would still arise. Therefore, Zhou Donghuang decided to make a trip to Earth to help them solve their problems. Otherwise, it would definitely be a regret in his heart. However, it is too early to think about this now. The most important thing now is to attain level 1 of the gathered qi. Returning to the Magnolia Guild, Zhou Donghuang continued to practice the Lord of the Four Supremes in seclusion. He did not sleep for the entire day and night, practicing until the next morning, when he stopped and walked out of his room to go to his mother's room. Donghuang, what kind of wound healing elixir did you give mother yesterday? Such serious internal injuries were completely healed in just one night. When Zhou Donghuang entered, Lin Lan had already gotten out of bed, looking refreshed as if nothing had happened. Moreover, I feel very light all over my body now, and I have not felt so relaxed in a long time. Mother, that was my specially made wound healing elixir. Just that bottle of wound healing elixir alone, the herbs I used cost more than 30 liang of silver. Do you think it's not very effective? Zhou Donghuang smiled. 30 liang of silver? Lin Lan was shocked. Just that bottle of wound healing elixir costs more than 30 liang of silver? Mother, you know your injury best. How much do you think a wound healing elixir that can heal such an injury in a day and night would fetch on the market? Zhou Donghuang asked with a smile. My injury yesterday not only injured my ribs and meridians, but my internal organs were also injured and slightly displaced. Lin Lan murmured to herself as she thought. Lin Lan murmured to herself as she pondered. The more she thought about it, the more shocked she became. If such a wound healing elixir were to be sold on the market, even if it was priced at 100 liang of silver, there would definitely be people fighting to buy it. As the guild master of the Magnolia Guild, Lin Lan had a good grasp of the market price. If I had taken the wound healing elixir that is widely available on the market, my injury would not have recovered to such an extent without at least 10 days to half a month. That is to say, the value of this wound healing elixir is more than 10 times that of the widely available wound healing elixirs. As she murmured to herself, Lin Lan looked at Zhou Donghuang with shining eyes, like a wild wolf that had been starving for a long time and had finally seen its prey. That is to say, you have the formula for this wound healing elixir in your hands? Seeing this, Zhou Donghuang naturally knew that Lin Lan's merchant mind had become active, and he mercilessly dampened Lin Lan's hopes. Mother, don't forget, the Magnolia Guild has already collapsed. Moreover, do you think that we can sell this wound healing elixir so casually? Think about it, in the country of Yunyang, how effective is the best wound healing elixir that has appeared so far? In the country of Yunyang, the best wound healing elixir that had appeared so far was made by the superior level medicine masters of the imperial court, and it was only twice as effective as the wound healing elixir that was widely available on the market. With Zhou Donghuang's reminder, Lin Lan regained her rationality and said with a serious expression, "I was too excited just now, this wound-healing elixir must not be sold." As the guild master of the Magnolia Guild for so many years, Lin Lan naturally understood the principle of, an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. Chapter 18. Zhou Donghuang did not practice for the rest of the day. He helped Lin Lan and Granny Lian move the treasures from the Magnolia Guild's treasure storehouse to the courtyard behind Yunxian restaurant. As for the other goods, a group of guards and servant girls were responsible for moving them. When night fell, the Magnolia Guild was deserted. Zhou Donghuang stood with Lin Lan at the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild for a long time. "Mother, the new will not come if the old does not go," Zhou Donghuang advised. "Even so, the Magnolia Guild has been around for more than 10 years. Lin Lan sighed. More than 10 years of hard work, in the end, was it all going to go down the drain? The old Magnolia Guild has fallen, can't a new Magnolia Guild start anew? Zhou Donghuang countered. A new Magnolia Guild? Lin Lan turned around and looked at Zhou Donghuang with sparkling eyes. Donghuang, you mean? Mother, to establish a new Magnolia Guild? As long as Mother is willing. Yunxian restaurant will always be Mother's shield. Zhou Donghuang said with a smile. He had thought it through over the past 2 days. If his mother still could not let go of the Magnolia Guild, he would establish a new Magnolia Guild for her. With the financial support of Yunxian restaurant, the new Magnolia Guild would not be inferior to the old one. Donghuang. Lin Lan smiled bitterly. Establishing a guild is not that simple. The preeminent families of the prefecture capital will not allow an ordinary person to establish a guild and compete with the guilds under them for business. If I establish a new Magnolia Guild, neither the Hong family of the prefecture capital nor the Lin family of the prefecture capital will agree. Because Qingshan town is the territory of the guilds under them. Even your Yunxian restaurant, if not for the fear of Elder Zhao San's reputation, there would be many people eyeing it. Speaking of which, Lin Lan's face also became solemn. The Wang family's visit to seek revenge the day before had allowed her to guess some things. Zhao San would not necessarily care about her son Zhou Donghuang's affairs. Zhao San had probably sent her son Zhou Donghuang to Yunxian restaurant to repay a favor. In the coming days, when news of the change in ownership of Yunxian restaurant reached the prefecture capital, many people would surely go to the governor's household to find out what Zhao San had to say. As long as Zhao San expressed that he did not care who Yunxian restaurant belonged to in the future, there would certainly be many people coming to Qingshan town to fight for Yunxian restaurant. Donghuang, tell me honestly, what is your relationship with Zhao San? If someone came to rob Yunxian restaurant, would he help you? Lin Lan asked Zhou Donghuang solemnly. Mother, I, Zhou Donghuang, can protect my own things. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. But his words had another meaning in Lin Lan's ears. Zhao San would not help. Immediately, Lin Lan became even more worried, and all she could think of was how to help Zhou Donghuang protect Yunxian restaurant. She no longer thought of establishing a new Magnolia Guild. Donghuang, Mother is a little tired, let's go back. Hearing Lin Lan's invitation, Zhou Donghuang and Lin Lan left the Magnolia Guild together and returned to Yunxian restaurant. Yunxian restaurant occupied a large area, but only the area in front was open to the public. The area behind it was a compound that was not open to the public. This was where Zhao San used to live. Compared to the environment of the Magnolia Guild, the environment here was even better. The guards and servant girls of the Magnolia Guild all smiled brightly when they arrived. When they returned, Granny Lian had already instructed the guards and servant girls to make all the necessary arrangements. The spacious room that Zhao San used to live in had become Zhou Donghuang's room. That Zhao San really knows how to enjoy himself. In the spacious room, a row of screens separated 2 areas. One was where the bed was, and the other was a table with pen and paper on it. Obviously, this was where Xiaofan usually practiced his calligraphy. In addition, there were many paintings and calligraphy on the walls of the room. The words were bold and powerful, and they were all signed, Xiaofan. The calligraphy is not bad, it's a pity that it lacks some grandeur. Zhou Donghuang came to the table, and on a whim, he picked up the brush on the table, dipped it in ink, and wrote on the white paper on the table, "If anyone dares to provoke me, I will teach him a lesson." These words were even more bold and powerful than Xiaofan's, and most importantly, they had a majestic grandeur to them. As for the signature, Zhou Donghuang casually waved his hand and wrote his name in a flourish. A piece of calligraphy that far surpassed any of Xiaofan's had been born. However, Zhou Donghuang did not hang it up, but left it casually on the table. He went behind the screen and went to practice on his bed. He practiced all the way until the next day, when the guild master of the Sunset Guild, Hongyu, came to deliver all the herbs that Zhou Donghuang had given him. Only then did Zhou Donghuang wake up from his practice. With the herbs that he needed, Zhou Donghuang formulated a qi-gathering elixir that could increase the sensitivity to qi by 3 times. When this qi-gathering elixir appeared before Lin Lan, she could not help but be shocked after she tried it. "Mother, you should destroy all your qi and practice from the beginning." Zhou Donghuang looked at Lin Lan seriously and said, "I have a better and more suitable method of practice in my hands. If you practice that method, your future will be limitless." "Mother is already so old, how can my future be limitless?" Lin Lan shook her head, thinking that Zhou Donghuang was comforting her. "However, if Donghuang thinks it's good, I can destroy all my qi and practice from the beginning." Finally, Lin Lan destroyed all her qi in front of Zhou Donghuang, intending to practice the method that Zhou Donghuang had given her again. From beginning to end, she had no hesitation and trusted Zhou Donghuang unconditionally. The method that Zhou Donghuang had given Lin Lan was not the Lord of the Four Supremes, nor was it the Thousand-Star Sword Technique, the Fiery Thunder Training Regimen, or the Manual of Unruffled Sage. Instead, it was a method called the Technique of Everlasting Youth. This method was also one of the top methods in the universe, but its main focus was not on combat, but on longevity. The more one practiced this method, the longer one's life would be. Moreover, the speed of practice was not slow. Most importantly, it was very friendly to those with average talent. On the path of practice, it could subtly change and enhance the practitioner's talent. "Mother, this technique of everlasting youth is the most suitable method for you that I can think of. Practice it well, and in the future, you will be able to feel its wonders for yourself." Zhou Donghuang wrote down the technique of everlasting youth and instructed Lin Lan to memorize its contents before burning it. He left 10 bottles of qi-gathering elixirs for Lin Lan, which could increase the sensitivity to qi by 3 times, before leaving Lin Lan's room. The method that he had chosen for Lin Lan might not be the best, but it was the most suitable for Lin Lan. Next, I should rely on this newly formulated qi-gathering elixir to break through to level 1 of qi-gathering. After returning from Lin Lan's room, Zhou Donghuang continued to practice. And the 22nd day of the 12th month of the 1227 of the Ziyun era gradually passed as Zhou Donghuang practiced. From beginning to end, the crazy Taoist did not appear. Zhou Donghuang successfully changed the history of his previous life and was not brought away from the planet of Ziyun to Earth by the crazy Taoist. On the 23rd day of the 12th month of the 1227 of the Ziyun era, noon. "Young master," Fu said, "someone from the Li family of the prefecture capital came to Yunxian restaurant and asked to see you." Granny Lian's voice rang out in the room, causing Zhou Donghuang to pause his practice. The Li family of the prefecture capital? Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed slightly, and a cold light flashed across them. Looks like it is the clan brother from the Li family of the prefecture capital that Li Xian mentioned. When Zhou Donghuang walked into a heavenly dining booth in Yunxian restaurant, a well-built middle-aged man in blue was sweeping up the delicacies on the table like a tornado. "You're looking for me?" Zhou Donghuang asked as he pushed open the door and entered, his gaze sweeping over the middle-aged man indifferently. "You are the new owner of Yunxian Restaurant, Zhou Donghuang?" The middle-aged man only lifted his head to look at Zhou Donghuang indifferently before continuing to bury his head in the delicacies on the table. As he ate, he said in an inarticulate and commanding tone, "Where is Li Xian? Tell him to come out and see me." "Li Xian?" Zhou Donghuang smiled indifferently. "I'm afraid you won't be able to see him." "What do you mean?" The middle-aged man finally stopped eating, and his gaze fell like lightning on Zhou Donghuang, and his expression darkened slightly. "Nothing much. I just wanted to tell you that he's already dead, and if you want to see him, I'm afraid you'll have to enter the gates of hell to find him." Zhou Donghuang's smile remained. You killed him?" The middle-aged man's expression changed, and he shook his head. "I almost forgot, you're just a martial invalid. You instructed someone to kill him? If I told you I stomped him to death, would you believe me?" Zhou Donghuang asked. "You?" The middle-aged man sneered. Although Li Xian's martial talent was not much, he was still a level 1 adept of qi gathering. "You, a martial invalid, what right did you have to kill him? It looks like you've just arrived in Qingshan town." Hearing this, Zhou Donghuang knew that the middle-aged man must have just arrived in Qingshan town, or else he would have heard from someone else that he had killed the level 2 adept Wang Yukuan. These few days, the talk of Qingshan town had revolved around him killing Wang Yukuan. "Speak, what do you want from me?" Zhou Donghuang asked impatiently. "If there's nothing else, I'm in a hurry to go back and practice." "You're a martial invalid, what are you practicing for?" The middle-aged man laughed coldly. "Zhou Donghuang, since you've come yourself, I'll be honest with you. The second young master of the Li family of the prefecture capital has taken a liking to this Yunxian restaurant, so he sent me to Qingshan town to buy it from you." The middle-aged man revealed his purpose in a few words. The last time he had received Li Xian's letter, he had immediately sought out the second young master of the Li family of the prefecture capital whom he was loyal to. Because he knew that a business like Yunxian restaurant was not something he could afford to buy. But if he gave it to the second young master, not only would he be able to make a contribution, but he would also be able to reap even more benefits. "Buy Yunxian restaurant?" Zhou Donghuang's deep gaze fell on the middle-aged man, and he asked indifferently, "Then, how much does the second young master of the Li family of the prefecture capital intend to spend to buy my Yunxian restaurant?" 1,000 liang. The middle-aged man's gaze was like lightning as he met Zhou Donghuang's gaze. Chapter 19. 1,000 liang of silver? Zhou Donghuang was taken aback at first, and then he could not help but laugh. "Do you know, my Yunxian restaurant's daily turnover, after deducting all expenses, is more than 1,000 liang of silver? If Yunxian restaurant was yours, and someone offered you 1,000 liang of silver to buy it, would you sell it?" As he said this, Zhou Donghuang looked at the middle-aged man as if he were looking at an idiot. "Zhou Donghuang, 1,000 liang of silver is our second young master's greatest sincerity. If you are not willing, be careful that you lose the restaurant and not get a single cent." The middle-aged man's eyes flashed coldly, and his tone carried a hint of threat. "What? Does that second young master of the Li family of the prefecture capital want to rob me of my restaurant?" Zhou Donghuang's expression did not change, but the smile on his face grew wider. "You can think of it that way." The middle-aged man said in a low voice, "I'll give you one last chance. Either you accept the 1,000 liang of silver and give me the title deed to Yunxian restaurant. Otherwise, I will cripple your limbs and take the title deed to Yunxian restaurant from you." As he spoke, the middle-aged man rose from his seat and stared at Zhou Donghuang with a sinister smile, as if he would immediately attack Zhou Donghuang if he dared to refuse. As a level 2 adept, he did not think that he could not handle this martial invalid before him. "What? Do you still want to fight?" Zhou Donghuang asked with a smile, his face calm and relaxed, showing no trace of the fear that the middle-aged man had imagined. However, there was a trace of coldness in the depths of his eyes. Cripple his arms and legs? It looks like you have chosen the latter. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed, and with a shake of his body, he took a quick step towards Zhou Donghuang, his arms extended and retracted like an eagle spreading its wings, his hands forming claws and grabbing at Zhou Donghuang's shoulders. In that case, I will first cripple your arms. A level 2 adept of qi gathering? The moment the middle-aged man made his move, Zhou Donghuang could tell that he was a level 2 adept, but his qi was not as thick as Wang Yuquan's. Even Wang Yuquan had died at his hands. At that time, he was far weaker than he was now. These 2 days of practice had thickened the qi in his body, and he was only a step away from level 1 of qi gathering. Who? Just as the middle-aged man appeared in front of Zhou Donghuang, his hands grabbing at Zhou Donghuang's shoulders, Zhou Donghuang's upper body bent backwards, as though he was drawing a bow. His arms trembled, and in an instant, his body straightened as he flung both palms towards the middle-aged man's arms. Just as the middle-aged man was shocked at the speed of Zhou Donghuang's attack, Zhou Donghuang's 2 palms had already landed on his arms. Bang! Bang! Crack! Crack! 2 loud sounds rang out, accompanied by the crisp sound of bones breaking. The next moment. The middle-aged man let out a blood-curdling scream like a pig being butchered. His entire body flew backward and fell heavily on the dining table. He was in a sorry state. Whoosh! At the same time that the middle-aged man's body landed on the dining table, Zhou Donghuang moved and caught up to the dining table. He stepped on the chest of the middle-aged man, who was struggling to get up, and pushed him back down again. You want to snatch Yunxian restaurant from me, Zhou Donghuang, with just this bit of ability? Zhou Donghuang looked down at the middle-aged man and grinned. Now, the middle-aged man looked at Zhou Donghuang with shock and terror, as though he had seen a ghost, and he was cursing Li Xian incessantly in his heart. Didn't that Li Xian say that Zhou Donghuang was a martial invalid? How could a martial invalid have such great ability? In the instant that Zhou Donghuang's 2 palms landed on his arms and crippled them, he realized that Zhou Donghuang's ability was above his own. Just the power contained in those 2 palms was not something that an ordinary level 2 adept of qi gathering could produce, to say nothing of anything else. Go back and tell that Bulsh *T second young master of the Li family of the prefecture capital that if he wants to snatch my Yunxian restaurant, tell him to come here himself. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang's gaze suddenly turned cold, and he squatted down without warning, his palms once again landing on the middle-aged man's legs. Immediately, the middle-aged man's legs followed in the footsteps of his arms, and he once again let out a blood-curdling scream like a pig being slaughtered and fainted. Just a moment ago, the middle-aged man had been incomparably arrogant, declaring that he would cripple Zhou Donghuang's arms and legs. Now, Zhou Donghuang's arms and legs were unharmed, but the middle-aged man's had been crippled. Walking out of the heavenly dining booth, Zhou Donghuang said to Chief Steward Fu, who was standing guard outside, "Take the money from him for this meal, then find a few people outside and a stretcher to send him back to the Li family of the prefecture capital. You don't have to take the money from him for hiring those people and buying the stretcher, we at Yunxian restaurant can still afford this bit of money." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang left under Fu's respectful gaze. Looks like the fact that I, Zhou Donghuang, have become the owner of Yunxian restaurant has made many people restless. As he walked out of Yunxian restaurant, a cold look flashed across Zhou Donghuang's eyes. However, if they want to take Yunxian restaurant from my hands, we'll have to see if they have the ability to do so. Zhou Donghuang knew very well. The Li family of the prefecture capital had designs on Yunxian restaurant, and this was only the beginning. Because of Li Xian, the Li family of the prefecture capital was more well-informed, and they knew that Zhao San did not have a close relationship with him and would not stand up for him. In the future, more people would seek out Zhao San or those close to him to make inquiries, and once it was confirmed that Zhao San was not related to him, those people would definitely not let go of a fat piece of meat like Yunxian Restaurant. Yunxian Restaurant was the most profitable business in Qingshan town, and any preeminent family of the prefecture capital would be tempted by it. I must strive to attain level 1 of Qi gathering before today. After leaving Yunxian Restaurant, Zhou Donghuang returned to the courtyard behind Yunxian Restaurant, and the guards at the entrance bowed respectfully to him. Young Master. Young Master. The guards were all veterans of the Magnolia Guild, and they had watched Zhou Donghuang grow up, but now they looked at this young master with reverence in their eyes. They did not dare to look at Zhou Donghuang as if he were a junior. They knew very well that after this young master had killed the level 2 adept Wang Yukuan, the pillar of the family was no longer the guild master of the Magnolia Guild, Lin Lan, but this young master. On his way back to his room, Zhou Donghuang passed by Lin Lan's room, and he saw Granny Lian hesitating in front of Lin Lan's room with a frown, unsure whether to knock or not. Granny Lian, what's the matter? Are you looking for my mother? Zhou Donghuang asked Granny Lian softly. Young master. Seeing Zhou Donghuang, Granny Lian glanced cautiously at Lin Lan's room. Let's talk in the drawing room outside. Once in the drawing room, Granny Lian said with a bitter smile, Young master, it's like this. Half a month ago, the Qingyun Guild of Ningping Town ordered 10 bracelets of pure gold made by the Lin family of the prefecture capital from our Magnolia Guild. Because of their high value, we had originally intended for leader Lin Ping to deliver them personally, but he was summoned back to the Lin family. Lin Ping was the former chief guard of the Magnolia Guild, a level 2 adept of Qi gathering, and he had been assigned by the Lin family of the prefecture capital to guard the Magnolia Guild in Qingshan town. When the Magnolia Guild sent out goods of high value, Lin Ping would usually personally escort them. The people sent by the Lin family of the prefecture capital to establish the new guild should have arrived in Qingshan town by now, right? Can't we let them deliver it? Zhou Donghuang asked. Granny Lian shook her head. The accounts for this transaction have already been settled with the Lin family of the prefecture capital. The balance of the 10 bracelets delivered and the money collected will be our Magnolia Guild's own money, and there is no need to share it with the Lin family. Because of this, they still had to deliver the goods themselves and collect the balance. 10 bracelets of pure gold. The value of 10 bracelets of pure gold was not low, and without the personal escort of a level 2 adept, no one would dare to sell them. Granny Lian, I will personally deliver them, Zhou Donghuang said to Granny Lian. Zhou Donghuang said to Granny Lian, help me arrange a carriage. I am going to practice on the road. From Qingshan town to Ningping town on horseback, a day and night's journey would be sufficient for the round trip. However, if it was a carriage, it would take 3 days and 3 nights. However, there was no way to practice on horseback, but if it was a carriage, he could practice in the carriage. At this critical juncture of attaining level 1 of Qi gathering, Zhou Donghuang did not want to waste any time. All right. Hearing that Zhou Donghuang would personally escort the 10 bracelets of pure gold, Granny Lian's eyes lit up, and she hurriedly left the drawing room to make the arrangements. In her opinion, her young master personally escorting them would be foolproof. After all, her young master had even been able to kill the level 2 adept of the Wang family, Wang Yukuan, who was known as the bloody-handed butcher. The bandits roaming the roads between the small towns could not possibly be a match for her young master. Granny Lian was very efficient. After about a quarter of an hour, Zhou Donghuang took the heavy wooden box containing the 10 bracelets of pure gold, boarded the carriage, and left Qingshan town. The driver of the carriage was a middle-aged guard from the Magnolia Guild. He was also a veteran of the Magnolia Guild, having joined the Magnolia Guild when it was first established. Uncle He, on the road, if you encounter a situation you cannot handle, throw this bell in. Zhou Donghuang handed a bell to the middle-aged guard driving the carriage as he left Qingshan town. If it is an ordinary bandit, you can negotiate with them. Tell them to get lost. If they insist on staying and you cannot handle them, throw the bell in, and I will deal with them. As Zhou Donghuang spoke, a cold glint flashed in his eyes, ready to devour someone. "Yes, young master." The middle-aged guard respectfully received the bell from Zhou Donghuang and carefully tucked it into his bosom. Zhou Donghuang was prepared to focus on practicing, and although he could hear any commotion, he did not intend to stop practicing. Therefore, he had given the middle-aged guard a bell in case he needed it. He had also asked Granny Lian to prepare this bell. Chapter 20. It was peaceful in Qingshan town. However, outside of Qingshan town, one could encounter danger at any time. Danger could come from ferocious wild beasts that wandered out of the forest, or from bandits roaming the area. On the way from Qingshan town to Ningping town, bandits often lurked on the side, waiting for an opportunity to rob them of their wealth and sex. Not only could women be raped, but even some good-looking and charming young men could also be raped. Between Qingshan town and Ningping town, there was a road that required passing through a stretch of overgrown forest. This was also the place where bandits often appeared. And now, there was a small group of bandits lurking in the forest by the road, waiting for an opportunity to strike. "Second in command, I heard that your level of practice has improved recently. It won't be long before you reach level 2 of Qi gathering?" A knife-scarred middle-aged man sitting on a large horse smiled as he asked the young man leading the group. Like the 5 men behind him, the young man in the lead was dressed in black, with a bamboo hat on his head and a cloak woven from bamboo grass draped over his back. He seemed to blend in with the surrounding forest. Beneath him was a steed that was a head taller than the horses that the 5 people behind him were riding, and its entire body was crimson red as if it was dyed with blood. Shockingly, it was a Fergana horse. Fergana horses could travel 1,000 miles in a day and were the finest of horses, known as the king of horses. On the market, a young Fergana horse could sell for 1,000 liang of silver. As for adult Fergana horses, they were very arrogant, and few people could tame them. Most adult Fergana horses would rather kill themselves than be tamed. "I will reach level 2 of Qi gathering in 3 months. There was a strong sense of confidence on the young man's cold face, and his eyes shone with a bright light. "In 3 months, second in command, you will only be 26 years old." Another well-built middle-aged bandit could not help but sigh. Reaching level 2 of Qi gathering before 30 years old, in the last few decades around Qingshan town, second in command should be the first adept to reach level 2 of Qi gathering before the age of 30. In the last few decades around Qingshan town, the first adept to reach level 2 of Qi gathering before the age of 30? However, the young man shook his head when he heard his subordinate's flattery. A young man's figure appeared in his mind at the right time. Although he was a mounted bandit, most people who had seen him were already dead. Thus, he often changed his clothes and wandered around Qingshan town like an ordinary person, buying a few things and stopping by Yunxian restaurant for a meal. The delicacies at Yunxian restaurant could not be found in the wilderness outside of Qingshan town. Thus, even if he did not need to buy anything, he would go to Qingshan town once a month just to have a meal at Yunxian restaurant. A few days ago, he went to Qingshan town as usual. He would never forget that day. Outside the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild, he, who had been watching the commotion like everyone else, had seen with his own eyes a youth of only 16 years old kill the bloodthirsty butcher, Wang Yukuan, who had been famous around Qingshan town for many years. Furthermore, he had killed Wang Yukuan with a single palm. Zhou Donghuang. That day, he remembered this name. Even if he would never have anything to do with this person in this life, he would never forget this name. My talent is just a joke in front of him. The young man sighed to himself. Second in command, there's a carriage coming. Just as the young man was still thinking about the incredible scene he had seen a few days ago, a voice behind him startled him out of his reverie. He looked up and saw a carriage coming from the direction of Qingshan town in the distance, moving at a high speed. Second in command, should we make a move? Just as another person was asking the young man, on the other side of the road, a group of 10 mounted bandits galloped out, blocking the carriage and surrounding it. "It's those fellows from Black Tiger Bastion." The knife-scarred middle-aged man frowned. "It looks like we'll have to give them half of today's loot." Black Tiger Bastion was another bandit camp. The rules of the bandit world were that if two or more groups of bandits encountered the same prey at the same time, the final loot would be split evenly. Just then, the middle-aged driver of the carriage that had stopped was already shouting to the bandits surrounding the carriage, "Good men, the person in my carriage is the owner of Yunxian Restaurant, please do us a favor." The owner of Yunxian Restaurant? In the forest, the expressions of the 5 men behind the young man on the Fergana horse changed. "It's Elder Xiaofan." The owner of Yunxian Restaurant, Xiaofan, was not to be trifled with, even in the eyes of the bandits around Qingshan town. "It's him?" However, unlike the reactions of the 5 men behind him, the young man's eyes narrowed as the figure of that youth once again appeared in his mind. A few days ago, he had made a trip to Qingshan town and found out that the owner of Yunxian Restaurant, Xiaofan, had already left Qingshan town, and before he left, he had given Yunxian Restaurant to a youth named Zhou Donghuang. At first, he only knew that Zhou Donghuang was the son of Guild Master Lin Lan of the Magnolia Guild in Qingshan town. But just as he was about to leave Qingshan town, he witnessed with his own eyes the scene of Zhou Donghuang killing Wang Yukuan at the main gates of the Magnolia Guild. Elder Xiaofan. The expressions of the bandits surrounding the carriage changed when they heard the driver's words. The burly man in the lead dismounted immediately and bowed to the carriage in a salute. "Qian Tongtian, second in command of Black Tiger Bastion, pays his respects to Elder Xiaofan." Pays his respects to Elder Xiaofan. The other bandits around the carriage also dismounted and bowed to the carriage. The middle-aged man who was acting as the driver was so frightened by this that his expression changed slightly, and he took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. Qian Tongtian frowned when he saw that there was no response from within the carriage, and he spoke again, "Elder Xiaofan, according to the rules of the underworld, please come out and meet us." Mounted bandits who licked blood from the edge of their blades were not so easily intimidated. Just like now. If it was really Xiaofan inside, they would have left tactfully after seeing him with their own eyes. Otherwise, if any random person were to impersonate Xiaofan, would they have to return empty-handed? "Sir." Just then, the middle-aged man who was acting as the driver said to Qian Tongtian, "Don't you know? Yunxian Restaurant changed owners a few days ago. The current owner is not Elder Xiaofan, but our young master, Zhou Donghuang." Yunxian Restaurant changed owners? Qian Tongtian was taken aback, and then he laughed coldly. "Do you think Yunxian Restaurant changed owners just because you said so? Who doesn't know that Elder Xiaofan has always been the owner of Yunxian Restaurant since it was first built? I would like to hear, who is your young master to be able to make Elder Xiaofan give him the most profitable business in Qingshan town, Yunxian Restaurant?" At this moment, the fear in Qian Tongtian's eyes disappeared, replaced by an icy coldness. In the forest, the other group of bandits who heard the conversation between the middle-aged driver and Qian Tongtian shook their heads, except for the young man leading them. So it's not Elder Xiaofan, but this driver is really naive. Does he think he can intimidate Qian Tongtian by saying this? The knife-scarred man said disdainfully. "Second in command, let's go out as well. If we're late, the meat will be eaten up by these fellows from Black Tiger Bastion." Another bandit said to the young man leading them. "It's him indeed." Hearing the words of the middle-aged driver, the young man was completely certain that the person in the carriage was the youth he had never forgotten. Second in command? The other bandits also began to urge the young man. "If you don't want to die, stay put." The young man reprimanded. Second in command, you, the knife-scarred man and the other bandits looked confused. They could not understand why the usually decisive second-in-command of Green Wolf Bastion had suddenly become so timid today. Just watch carefully. Qian Tongtian is going to be in big trouble. The young man's eyes narrowed, and his lips curled in a cold smile. On the other side. Seeing that the bandits surrounding the carriage had once again mounted their horses and were staring at him, the middle-aged driver hurriedly took out a bell and threw it into the carriage. Ding ding, 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 ding 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 ding, the bell fell to the ground, making a crisp sound. What? Throwing a bell to help your young master calm down? Xian Tongtian grinned, the saber in his hand already raised, ready to give the order for his bandits to attack at any time. Ha 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 ha, the bandits around the carriage could not help but burst into laughter when they heard Xian Tongtian's words. Zhou Donghuang had already awoken from his practice when he heard the bell. Just a little more, and I would have broken through to level 1 of Qi gathering. Unfortunately, it has been interrupted. If it had not been interrupted, I would have broken through in an hour at most. Inside the carriage, Zhou Donghuang's expression was so dark that it seemed as if it could drip water. Now that it has been interrupted, it will take at least half a day before I can break through. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang pulled open the curtains of the carriage and walked out. Young master. The middle-aged guard driving the carriage bowed respectfully to Zhou Donghuang and continued, "These bandits do not believe that young master is the new owner of Yunxian restaurant, and I can't do anything about it, so, I understand." Zhou Donghuang nodded in understanding, but when his gaze fell to the front, he was slightly taken aback. A Fergana horse? The leader of the bandits of Black Tiger Bastion, second-in-command Xian Tongtian, was also a Fergana horse. "You are the new owner of Yunxian restaurant?" Seeing Zhou Donghuang come out, the smile on Xian Tongtian's face grew wider, but his eyes were full of contempt and disdain. In his opinion, he could crush this 15 or 16-year-old youth to death with a flick of his finger. "Looks like you are the leader of these bandits." Zhou Donghuang stepped down from the carriage and walked to the front, his cold gaze falling on Xian Tongtian. "Do you know, you have interrupted my practice?" Chapter 21. Did I disturb your cultivation? Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Xian Tongtian was first stunned, then he could not help but laugh. "So what? Do you want me to play bells with you to make it up to you?" Ha 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 ha, the group of mounted gangsters around the caravan burst into laughter. Some of the mounted gangsters even laughed to the point of tearing up. "Second leader, I see that this lad has soft skin. Why don't we capture him back to the village and give him to the first leader? The first leader not only likes women, he also likes handsome young men like this." One of the bandits laughed evilly. "All right. We'll bring him back to the Black Tiger Bastion and give him to the first leader." Xian Tongtian looked Zhou Donghuang up and down, his smile growing wider. But very quickly, his smile froze. Because Zhou Donghuang had moved. Star-stepping footwork. In a flash, Zhou Donghuang's feet moved in a strange manner, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of Xian Tongtian's Fergana horse. That's a swiftness technique? In the forest, the young man riding the Fergana horse was shocked, and his eyes lit up. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang stomped on the ground with his left leg, and his entire body soared into the air like an eagle. His right leg landed on the Fergana horse's head, and as the Fergana horse cried out in pain, he sped towards Xian Tongtian. Oh no! Xian Tongtian finally realized that the young man in front of him was no ordinary person. Just the speed that the young man had just displayed was enough to leave him in the dust. In the Black Tiger Bastion, even the first leader did not have such speed. "Who are you?" Xian Tongtian's expression turned serious. He could see that the young man had just used a swiftness technique, and even if it was just a lesser-grade swiftness technique, he could not afford to offend such a person. In the entire region under the jurisdiction of the prefecture capital, it seemed that only the governor's household, the Zhao family, had a lesser-grade swiftness technique. Could he be from the Zhao family? His heart skipped a beat. In order to protect himself, Xian Tongtian waved his saber with all his might, trying to force Zhou Donghuang down. Although his opponent was fast, the sharp saber in his hand gave him a lot of confidence. The person who will kill you. Faced with Qian Tongtian's sword, Zhou Donghuang neither dodged nor evaded. With a shake of his arms, he clasped his palms together and caught the back of the sword. In the next moment, Zhou Donghuang's arms spun, and his entire body spun along with the saber, causing Qian Tongtian's hand to split open and blood to spurt everywhere. At the same time, Qian Tongtian could only let go of the saber. The moment the saber left Qian Tongtian's hands, Zhou Donghuang released the saber, and his right hand shot out like lightning to grab the hilt of the saber. Buzz! In Zhou Donghuang's hands, the saber seemed to have a life of its own. It flew out of his hands and spun rapidly with terrifying force, heading straight for Qian Tongtian's throat. No, faced with the menacing saber, Qian Tongtian had no time to dodge and could only raise his arms in a hurry to block it. Puchi! Puchi! Both his arms were severed at the wrists, and Qian Tongtian let out a shrill scream before he lost all signs of life. This was because after the saber had chopped off his arms, its momentum did not slow down at all as it swept past his throat, leaving behind a deep and fatal wound. Rumble! As the saber returned to Zhou Donghuang's hands, Qian Tongtian's corpse fell from the Fergana horse and landed heavily on the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. All of this happened in the blink of an eye, and the bandits around the carriage did not have time to react. It was only when Zhou Donghuang turned around and his cold gaze fell upon them that they came to their senses in shock, and their expressions changed. The second-in-command is dead. Run! Even the second-in-command, whose ability was close to level 2 of Qi Gathering, was dead, and the bandits of Black Tiger Bastion immediately turned into a disorderly mob, turning on their horses and fleeing in all directions. Trying to escape. However, they had not run far when the saber in Zhou Donghuang's hand shot out like lightning again, taking the lives of 3 more bandits before returning to his hand. Buzz! Buzz! Another 2 rounds, and the saber that Zhou Donghuang had thrown killed the remaining 6 bandits. By the time the last bandit died, he had only run less than 20 meters away from the carriage. Each of these bandits had their hands stained with the blood of countless innocents, and Zhou Donghuang had attacked them without hesitation or mercy. Young master, the middle-aged guard driving the carriage had a look of shock on his face, and he could not recover his wits for a long time. Although he was very confident in Zhou Donghuang, he had not expected Zhou Donghuang to be so frightening that he could kill a team of 10 bandits in the blink of an eye. After killing all the bandits, Zhou Donghuang's gaze turned without warning to the forest on the other side of the main road. After a moment, he looked away and turned his attention to the Fergana horse at his feet. In the forest. Gulp! Besides the young man leading the group, the 5 bandits, including the knife-scarred middle-aged man, all swallowed with difficulty, their bodies drenched in cold sweat. Second-in-command, could it be that he has discovered us? The knife-scarred middle-aged man asked in a trembling voice. If he has not discovered us, why is he looking over here? The young man said matter-of-factly. From beginning to end, his gaze never left the youth in the distance. After a few days, he had seen this youth again. The ability that the youth had displayed today was obviously even more frightening than the ability he had displayed that day. My God, if I had not seen it with my own eyes, would not have believed that a youth who looks to be only 15 or 16 years old could have such ability. Another bandit said, his face full of shock. Yes, it's too frightening. The second-in-command of the Black Tiger Gang, Qian Tongtian, was at least a level 2 adept, but he was killed in one move. When he swept towards Qian Tongtian just now, his speed was so fast. Was that a swiftness technique? It should be. With his ability, I'm afraid he can even contend with a level 2 adept. The remaining bandits could not help but whisper among themselves, their faces and eyes filled with shock, and at the same time, they felt some lingering fear. Luckily they had not gone out. I went to Qingshan town a few days ago and saw with my own eyes, he, in one move, killed the bloody-handed butcher of the lesser Wang family of Qingshan town. Just then, the young man leading the group spoke. The bloody-handed butcher? Second in command, are you talking about that Wang Yukuan? The knife-scarred man's eyes widened, and his breathing stagnated. He was obviously quite frightened. In Qingshan town, besides Wang Yukuan, is there a second bloody-handed butcher? The young man countered. That bloody-handed butcher was a ruthless man who fought evenly with the first-in-command of Green Wolf Bastion, even he died at the hands of this youth. The other bandits were also scared silly. Now, they finally understood why the second-in-command of Green Wolf Bastion had stopped them from going out. Even if the entire Green Wolf Bastion came out, they might not be able to kill such a ruthless man, let alone the 6 of them. My God, he actually tamed a Fergana horse? That's a mature Fergana horse, and it's almost impossible to tame. How did he do it? At the same time, the knife-scarred man made a shocking discovery. The middle-aged driver in the distance, under the instructions of the youth, had hitched the carriage to the Fergana horse of the second-in-command of Black Tiger Bastion, Qian Tongtian. The Fergana horse did not resist at all, and was as docile as a cat. He did not know how terrifying Zhou Donghuang's previous life had been, or he would not have been so surprised. In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang had been able to tame powerful beasts that could turn a city of 10,000 people into ruins with a single breath. What was a mere Fergana horse to him? Seeing that Zhou Donghuang had returned to the carriage, the middle-aged driver also returned to the carriage and prepared to continue on their way. The young man leading the group gritted his teeth and rode the Fergana horse towards the carriage. Let's go. Second in command. Second in command, don't be rash. The 5 bandits, including the knife-scarred man, were all frightened by the young man's actions. Such a ruthless person was not someone they could handle. However, in the end, the knife-scarred man and the other bandits gritted their teeth and followed. The second-in-command of Green Wolf Bastion had saved every single one of their lives, and they could not bear to watch as their second-in-command sent himself to his death. Young master, more bandits are coming. As the 6 bandits of Green Wolf Bastion emerged from the forest, the middle-aged guard, who was just about to drive the carriage away, smiled bitterly as he greeted Zhou Donghuang, who had just entered the carriage. However, before Zhou Donghuang could respond, he saw the bandits dismount under the leadership of the young man. Second in command of Green Wolf Bastion, Freezing Wind, greets young Master Donghuang. After Freezing Wind dismounted, he bowed respectfully towards the carriage. Greetings, young Master Donghuang. Seeing that the second in command of Green Wolf Bastion had no intention of attacking, the knife-scarred man and the other 4 bandits breathed a sigh of relief and bowed towards the carriage. What's the matter? Zhou Donghuang's languid voice came from within the carriage. Young Master Donghuang, are you preparing to go to Ningping town? Freezing Wind asked respectfully. Zhou Donghuang responded mildly. Young Master Donghuang, there's still a long way to go from here to Ningping town, and it's hard to avoid encountering people who don't know their place. For the rest of the journey, let me and my brothers lead the way for you, how about that? Freezing Wind said respectfully, I, Freezing Wind, have some reputation along the way. If the bandits on the road see me, they will definitely not dare to cause trouble. And if we encounter some savage beasts, I can also help young Master Donghuang deal with them. In that case, young Master Donghuang can also practice in peace. After Leng Hanfeng finished speaking, he glanced at the carriage anxiously. Inside the carriage, it had to be said that Freezing Wind's words had moved Zhou Donghuang. We'll do as you say. When we reach Ningping town, I will not mistreat you. Young Master Donghuang, Freezing Wind, am doing this not because I want anything in return, but because I admire young Master's abilities, and I admire young Master as a person. Freezing Wind said in a low voice, a look of displeasure flashing across his eyes. Second in command. The knife-scarred man and the other 4 bandits' expressions changed, deeply afraid that Freezing Wind had offended the savage youth in the carriage. This second in command of Green Wolf Bastion is rather interesting. Inside the carriage, hearing the displeasure in Freezing Wind's tone, Zhou Donghuang's lips curled up slightly in a smile. When we reach Ningping town, after you see what I have for you, you can consider whether to reject my good intentions. Zhou Donghuang spoke again. Chapter 22. Even when pulling a carriage, the Fergana horse was extremely fast, much faster than an ordinary carriage. With this Fergana horse pulling the carriage to Ningping town, we should be able to reach it by tomorrow morning at the latest. Zhou Donghuang had set off at noon yesterday. Now, it was noon on the 24th of December 1227 of the Ziyun era. The journey that was supposed to take them until noon on the 26th day of the 12th month of the year 1227 of the Ziyun era was now able to reach Ningping town early in the morning on the 25th day of the 12th month of the year 1227 of the Ziyun era thanks to the Fergana horse. Before passing through the forest behind, Zhou Donghuang's carriage had been traveling alone on the main road. But now, there were 6 mounted bandits escorting him on tall horses. The leader of the bandits was a young man riding a Fergana horse. He looked so majestic that some of the bandits hiding along the road shrank back in fear. It's the second in command of Green Wolf Bastion, Freezing Wind. Many bandits recognized Freezing Wind, who was leading the way. The one sitting in the carriage, could it be the first in command of Green Wolf Bastion? It should be. Besides the first in command of Green Wolf Bastion, who else could make Freezing Wind personally lead the way for him? I don't recognize the 4 people on either side of the carriage, but I have some impression of the middle-aged man with a knife scar on his face at the back of the carriage. It's Yuhankuan of Green Wolf Bastion. Yuhankuan? The third most powerful man of Green Wolf Bastion? The one whose ability is second only to the first in command and second in command of Green Wolf Bastion? That's him. I heard that the first in command of Green Wolf Bastion had long intended to appoint Yuhankuan as the third in command of Green Wolf Bastion, but Yuhankuan was grateful for Freezing Wind's saving grace and was willing to serve Freezing Wind at his beck and call instead of being the third in command of Green Wolf Bastion. Now, Zhou Donghuang was focused on practicing in the carriage and did not know that many bandits on the road outside had mistaken him for the first in command of Green Wolf Bastion. And along the way, with the second in command of Green Wolf Bastion, Freezing Wind at the head of the bandits escorting them, it was indeed very peaceful. Occasionally, some ferocious wild beasts came forward, but Freezing Wind did not even have to lift a finger for the other bandits to kill them. The team of bandits led by Freezing Wind were all level 1 adepts of Qi gathering, and they were the team with the most elites in Green Wolf Bastion. Although there were only 6 of them, they were no weaker than the 10 bandits from Black Tiger Bastion who had died at Zhou Donghuang's hands. I finally broke through. As night fell, Zhou Donghuang, who was in the carriage, opened his eyes, and a smile appeared on his face. He had finally attained level 1 of Qi gathering. Now, with just his true Qi, he could explode with the strength of an ox. Coupled with his extreme muscular strength that allowed him to exert 1,000 Jin of force, he would be able to kill an average level 2 adept with a single blow without using any martial arts. Continue. After attaining level 1 of Qi gathering, Zhou Donghuang consumed another bottle of Qi gathering elixir and continued practicing the Lord of the Four Supremes. He cultivated all the way until the next morning before he woke up from his cultivation. At this time, they had arrived at their destination, Ningping town. Young master, Ningping town is just ahead. The middle-aged guard driving the carriage said to Zhou Donghuang as the carriage came to a halt. At the same time, the second in command of Green Wolf Bastion, Freezing Wind, led the other 5 bandits to stand to one side and saluted the carriage. Young Master Donghuang, we did not disappoint you. In the future, if young Master Donghuang thinks highly of me, I would like to go to Yunxian restaurant to have a drink with you. As he spoke, Freezing Wind prepared to leave with his bandits. Whoosh! Just as Freezing Wind turned his horse around, a gust of wind came from within the carriage, and accompanying the gust of wind was a bundle of oiled paper that flew towards Freezing Wind. Freezing Wind instinctively caught it, then frowned at the carriage and asked in a low voice, "Young Master Donghuang, do you really look down on me, Freezing Wind?" There is a swiftness technique recorded inside. You should have seen it before. When I killed the second-in-command of Black Tiger Bastion, Qian Tong Tian, I used this swiftness technique. Zhou Donghuang's voice came from within the carriage. Swiftness technique? Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, not only Freezing Wind, but the 5 bandits behind him also narrowed their eyes. Swiftness techniques, even the worst lesser-grade swiftness techniques, were only available to the governor's household of the prefecture capital, the Zhao family, in the vast territory under the jurisdiction of the prefecture capital. And now, they had only escorted the person in the carriage for less than a day and a night, and he had actually given them a swiftness technique? Really? This was the first thought that came to their minds, but as soon as it arose, they suppressed it. With the ability of the person in the carriage, there was no need for him to lie to them. Does young Master Donghuang think that, after knowing that this is a swiftness technique, I will be grateful and accept it? Freezing Wind shook his head after the initial shock, his gaze firm. Young Master Donghuang, Freezing Wind, have said before that I escorted you to Ningping Town only because I admire your ability and respect you, and not because I want anything in return. You had better keep this swiftness technique for yourself. As soon as he finished speaking, Freezing Wind threw the swiftness technique in his hand towards the window of the carriage under the reluctant gazes of the 5 bandits behind him, without any hesitation. However, just as it touched the window curtains, it was repelled by a force and returned to Freezing Wind's hand. You are really surprising. Inside the carriage, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed with surprise. That is a swiftness technique, and you actually said you did not want it, but, I, Zhou Donghuang, do not like to owe people favors. You had better accept it. Don't you want me to think highly of you? Accept it, and I will think highly of you. At the same time, Yunxian Restaurant will always welcome you. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang turned to the middle-aged guard driving the carriage and said, Uncle He, let's enter the town. Yes, young master. The middle-aged guard flicked the reins lightly, and the Fergana horse immediately pulled the carriage towards the main gate of Ningping Town, pulling away from Freezing Wind and the others. Freezing Wind held the swiftness technique in his hand as he looked at the retreating figure of the carriage, a bitter smile on his face. Since Zhou Donghuang had said so, he had no choice but to accept it. Second in command, quick, take a look, is it really a swiftness technique? One of the bandits urged with a gleam in his eyes. The other bandits, including the knife-scarred middle-aged man, Yu Hengkuan, all looked at Freezing Wind with a gleam in their eyes. Hearing this, Freezing Wind unrolled the oiled paper in his hand with a face full of excitement and curiosity, and took a look at it. Yu Hengkuan and the others waited quietly. After about a dozen breaths, Freezing Wind's expression changed, and his fingers moved quickly, tearing the oiled paper into countless pieces. A gust of wind blew past, and the pieces flew into the air. Even if he wanted to piece them back together, it would be impossible. Second in command, what are you doing? Could it be that the swiftness technique is fake? Apart from Yu Hengkuan, the other 4 bandits looked at Freezing Wind with doubt and suspicion in their eyes. It's fake. Freezing Wind said with a dark expression, I never thought that the owner of Yunxian Restaurant would like to toy with others. As soon as he finished speaking, Freezing Wind glanced at Yu Hengkuan. The latter immediately understood and added, no matter how strong he is only a 15 or 16-year-old boy. It's normal for him to be a little childish. Come to think of it, a swiftness technique is so precious, how could it be given away so casually? Yu Hengkuan's words made the other 4 bandits nod, and the suspicion in their eyes dissipated. But they still had some doubts. The second in command of Green Wolf Bastion, Freezing Wind, had a photographic memory. This was no secret in Green Wolf Bastion. If it really was a swiftness technique, a dozen breaths' time would be enough for the second in command to remember it completely. But the 4 bandits thought for a while and felt that the owner of Yunxian Restaurant was indeed toying with them, because the second in command of Green Wolf Bastion was not the kind of person who would ignore his brothers and take a swiftness technique for himself. Let's go back. Freezing Wind gave the order and led them back to Green Wolf Bastion. On the way back, Freezing Wind could not hide the shock, horror, and disbelief in the depths of his eyes. Back at Green Wolf Bastion, seeing that the other four had returned to their own quarters, Freezing Wind called Yuhankuan over. Second in command, that swiftness technique, it shouldn't be fake, right? Yuhankuan asked in a low voice. It definitely isn't fake. Freezing Wind smiled bitterly. Since it isn't fake, why did you lie to your brothers that it was fake? Having Freezing Wind's confirmation, Yuhankuan's eyes were full of confusion. He knew this second in command of Green Wolf Bastion, and he was not the kind of person who would take a swiftness technique for himself. Knife Scar, I lied to them for their own good. The bitter smile on Freezing Wind's face deepened. Yuhankuan was even more confused. Do you know what kind of swiftness technique that young Master Donghuang gave me? Freezing Wind took a deep breath. Isn't it the lesser-grade swiftness technique that he used when he killed the second-in-command of Black Tiger Bastion, Qian Tongtian? Yuhankuan asked. It is that swiftness technique, no doubt, Freezing Wind nodded, and then said with some difficulty, but, it is not a lesser-grade swiftness technique, but a third-grade swiftness technique. Third-grade swiftness technique? As Freezing Wind finished speaking, Yuhankuan was shocked silly, as if he had been struck by lightning, and he was completely stunned. Now, you should understand why I said. I lied to them for their own good? Freezing Wind smiled bitterly. Second in command, you've put a lot of thought into this. After a moment, Yuhankuan recovered his wits, and his face was full of bitterness. Third-grade swiftness technique. It was easy to imagine that if such a swiftness technique were to be exposed, the entire Black Tiger Bastion would be doomed. That new owner of Yunxian Restaurant, who is he? It said that only the imperial family and the king's household possess third-grade techniques. Not only does he have them, he even casually gives them away. Chapter 23. When they reached Ningping town, Zhou Donghuang ordered the middle-aged guard driving the carriage to go directly to the Qingyun Guild. The chairwoman of the Qingyun Guild was also a woman, a collateral descendant of the Li family of the prefecture capital. Her name was Li Yun, and she had been good friends with Lin Lan for many years. Aunt Yun, since the goods and the money have been paid, should take my leave. In the drawing room of the Qingyun Guild, Zhou Donghuang said to Li Yun after collecting the payment. In his memory, Li Yun had been to the Magnolia Guild a few times, and she had brought him gifts each time, so he had a very good impression of her. Donghuang, it's rare for you to visit. Stay at Aunt Yun's for the night before you leave, and let Aunt Yun take good care of you. Li Yun said with a smile. She and Lin Lan had been good friends for many years, and they had always referred to each other as sisters. She had never treated Lin Lan's adopted son as an outsider. Aunt Yun, don't bother, I'm in a hurry to get back. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. He had no intention of spending the night in Ningping town. Now, Granny Lian was the only level 1 adept in Yunxian Restaurant. His mother, Lin Lan, had already lost all her qi and was beginning to practice the technique of everlasting youth again, and she no longer had her previous ability. He would not be at ease if he returned too late. Then let's have lunch together, it's almost noon now. Donghuang, don't tell me you're not even willing to have a meal with Aunt Yun? Li Yun settled for the next best thing. Or. Donghuang, now that you've become the owner of Yunxian Restaurant, you look down on Aunt Yun? Aunt Yun, you already know? Zhou Donghuang was a little surprised. He had not imagined that Li Yun would even know that he had become the owner of Yunxian Restaurant. How could I not know? 2 days ago, I heard from someone from Qingshan town that the owner of Yunxian Restaurant, Zhao San, had given Yunxian Restaurant to you, Donghuang. Li Yun sighed. Yesterday, I also heard from someone from Qingshan town that Donghuang, you first killed the second elder of the Lesser Wang family, a level 1 lesser family, with a single blow, and then killed the Grand Patriarch of the Wang family, Wang Yuquan, known as the Bloody-Handed Butcher, with a single blow. I didn't quite believe it at first. But today, Dong Huang, you alone delivered 10 gold bracelets safely. Even if I don't believe you, I'm afraid I can't. Li Yun's eyes flickered with wisdom as she spoke. On the way from Qingshan town to Ningping town, there were many horse bandits. Most people did not carry any valuables. After being searched and confirmed, they only needed to pay a toll to pass. As long as they cooperated and did not resist, the mounted bandits would not kill indiscriminately. This was because they were also worried that if they killed too many people, no one would dare to walk out of the town. Killing the goose that lays the golden eggs was not a long-term solution. The fact that Zhou Donghuang could successfully bring 10 gold bracelets to Ningping town was a testament to his ability. Since Aunt Yun has kindly invited me, I won't refuse. Seeing Li Yun looking at him expectantly, and thinking that it would not take much time to have lunch, Zhou Donghuang agreed. All right. Donghuang, wait here for a while. Aunt Yun will send someone to make arrangements. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang had agreed, Li Yun beamed and bade Zhou Donghuang farewell before leaving the hall to make arrangements. About 15 minutes later, Li Yun returned to the hall. Beside her was a young girl who looked about the same age as Zhou Donghuang. The girl was wearing a light blue dress and had a pretty face. Her eyebrows were somewhat similar to Li Yun's. She stood there slender and elegant, but at this moment, her eyebrows were slightly furrowed, as if she was unwilling to appear here. Li Rui. Zhou Donghuang recognized the young girl. It was Li Yun's daughter, Li Rui, who was a year younger than him. They had played together when they were young, but they had not seen each other in recent years. Rui, this is your brother Donghuang. Why aren't you greeting him? Li Yun frowned at Li Rui. Mother, he's only a year older than me. I can just call him by his name, right? Li Rui said unhappily. Just as Li Yun's expression changed and she was about to fly into a rage, Zhou Donghuang smiled and said, Aunt Yun, it's just a title. Even I don't mind, why should you? As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang looked at Li Rui and greeted her with a smile, Xiao Rui, long time no see. Is Xiao Rui someone you can casually call? Call me Li Rui. Li Rui snorted with displeasure. She naturally remembered Zhou Donghuang. He was the son of her mother's good friend, Lin Lan, and also a martial invalid who could not practice qi. Although her mother had said that Zhou Donghuang was different now, she did not believe it at all. She only thought that the recent rumors about Zhou Donghuang were groundless and not true. How could a martial invalid become the owner of Yunxian Restaurant, the most profitable business in Qingshan town? How could a martial invalid kill the old patriarch of the Wang family of Qingshan town, Wang Yuquan? Moreover, in her opinion, even if Zhou Donghuang was not a martial invalid, the 16-year-old Zhou Donghuang could not possibly have the ability to kill Wang Yuquan. Wang Yuquan was a level 2 adept of qi gathering. In the country of Yunyang, a 16-year-old youth who had the ability to kill him was as rare as a phoenix feather or a unicorn horn. Such a person could not possibly be from this small town. Li Rui. Although Zhou Donghuang would not be calculative with a little girl, Li Rui's rudeness caused the smile on his face to disappear instantly, and his tone became much colder. Seeing this, Li Yun sighed. She had originally intended to let her daughter and this adopted son of her good friend Lin Lan get along well, to see if there was any possibility of further development. But now it seemed that this was clearly not possible. Donghuang, Rui, let's go. Li Yun sent someone to book a private room at a restaurant in Ningping town, and as she led Zhou Donghuang and Li Rui out, she found a carriage parked at the entrance of the Qingyun Guild. An ordinary carriage would not have attracted Li Yun's attention. However, the horse in front of the carriage was a Fergana horse. A carriage drawn by a Fergana horse. Even in the prefecture capital, few people would be so extravagant. A Fergana horse? Seeing the carriage drawn by the Fergana horse, Li Rui was shocked and could not help but ask Li Yun, "Mother, whose carriage is this?" Just as Li Yun was about to shake her head and say, "I don't know," the middle-aged driver had already jumped down from the carriage and bowed respectfully to Zhou Donghuang. "Young master." Zhou Donghuang nodded lightly and looked at Li Yun. "Aunt Yun, let's take my carriage. After dinner, I will send you back, and then we will return directly to Qingshan town." "Okay, okay." Only then did Li Yun realize that this was Zhou Donghuang's carriage. After the carriage set off, Li Rui, who was sitting beside Li Yun, frowned and said to Zhou Donghuang, using a Fergana horse to draw a carriage, "You are wasting such a treasure." "Wasting such a treasure?" Zhou Donghuang was stunned at first, but then he smiled lightly. A Fergana horse was a treasure in the eyes of ordinary people, but in Zhou Donghuang's eyes, it was no different from an ordinary horse. Moreover, to be able to draw a carriage for Zhou Donghuang, this Fergana horse was a blessing that had been accumulated over several lifetimes. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang seemed unwilling to acknowledge her, Li Rui became angry. "After passing the assessment of the Li family in the prefecture capital, I will be entering the Li family in a few days to practice, but I did not ask my mother to buy me a Fergana horse. That is because I know that she has a hard time earning money, and I cannot bear to spend too much of her money. But you, a martial invalid, not only let your mother use her hard-earned money to buy you a Fergana horse, but you also let a Fergana horse draw a carriage for you. How can you face your mother? It seems like there is a difference between a biological one and an adopted one." As she spoke, Li Rui gave Zhou Donghuang a look of disgust. "Rui, Li Yun's expression changed, and she slapped Li Rui hard in front of Zhou Donghuang. "Apologize to Donghuang immediately." "Mother, you hit me? Did I say something wrong?" Li Rui's eyes widened as she looked at Li Yun in disbelief. This was the first time in her life that her mother had hit her. What she did not know was that Li Yun had hit her not because of Zhou Donghuang, but to protect her. The Zhou Donghuang now was not someone that anyone could afford to offend. You are very sensible." Zhou Donghuang glanced at Li Rui and nodded seriously. "However, I hope you can be clear about one thing. I did not ask my mother to buy this Fergana horse, and it was not my mother who bought it for me." "If it was not your mother who bought it, where did you get so much money to buy a Fergana horse?" Li Rui asked disdainfully, her attention drawn to Zhou Donghuang's words. "This Fergana horse was the spoil of war that I obtained after killing the second-in-command of Black Tiger Bastion, Qian Tongtian," Zhou Donghuang said calmly. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Li Yun's eyes narrowed. She naturally knew about Black Tiger Bastion. It was a powerful bandit camp that lay dormant between Qingshan town and Ningping town. The first-in-command of Black Tiger Bastion was a level 2 adept of Qi gathering. And the second-in-command of Black Tiger Bastion, Qian Tongtian, was also a level 2 adept of Qi gathering. Qian Tongtian was killed by Zhou Donghuang. Li Yun's heart trembled. "Don't brag without a draft." Li Rui sneered. "It is said that the second-in-command of Black Tiger Bastion, Qian Tongtian, is expected to break through to level 2 of Qi gathering in the next few years. In the whole of Qingshan town, there are only a handful of people who can kill such a person. You are a martial invalid, what right do you have to kill him?" "Miss, my young master really killed the second-in-command of Black Tiger Bastion, Qian Tongtian. I saw it with my own eyes. And this Fergana horse was originally Qian Tongtian's, and it was tamed by my young master to pull his carriage." The middle-aged guard driving the carriage could not bear to hear this and defended Zhou Donghuang. "He is your young master, and even if he brags to the heavens, you will still help him cover up his lies." Li Rui said disdainfully, "From what you say, this mature Fergana horse was just tamed by your young master yesterday?" Chapter 24. Zhou Donghuang could not be bothered to argue with Li Rui's ignorance. If it weren't for Li Yun, he would have already slapped Li Rui to shut her up. Throughout the meal, Li Rui spoke quite a bit, but seeing that Zhou Donghuang was engrossed in eating the dishes on the table and had no intention of responding to her, she gradually stopped speaking. However, her gaze towards Zhou Donghuang was full of disdain, thinking that Zhou Donghuang did not respond to her because he felt guilty. "Aunt Yun, thank you for your hospitality." After lunch, they left the restaurant and sent Li Yun and her mother to the entrance of the Qingyun Guild. Zhou Donghuang thanked Li Yun and returned to the carriage. Seeing the carriage disappear into the distance, Li Yun sighed. "Mother, why are you sighing? He's just a martial invalid, there's no need for us to interact too much with him." Li Rui said. "Rui, you're wrong. Zhou Donghuang is a dragon among men, you'll regret missing out on him." Li Yun shook her head with a bitter smile. "I'll regret it? Impossible." Li Rui said disdainfully. "Even Chen Dandan doesn't want a man, Li Rui naturally won't want him. The person I want to marry has to be at least the eldest son of a preeminent family in the prefecture capital, or else wouldn't I lose to Chen Dandan? Zhou Donghuang, a martial invalid, is not worthy of me." The carriage pulled by the Fergana horse swaggered through the streets of Ningping town. As expected, it attracted the attention of passers-by because the Fergana horse was too conspicuous. However, the middle-aged man driving the carriage pulled by the Fergana horse was already used to it. This was because he had already experienced a similar scene when he entered Ningping town that morning. "Young master, the daughter of Guild Master Li Yun of the Qingyun Guild is too short-sighted, why didn't you show her your power and shut her up?" The middle-aged guard could not help but ask Zhou Donghuang as they drove the carriage out of Ningping town. Even he could not bear to listen to what Li Rui had said to Zhou Donghuang. "Uncle He, a kitten meows in front of a tiger, and the tiger not only did not bite it, but did not even look at it, do you know why?" Zhou Donghuang smiled faintly. Without waiting for the middle-aged guard to reply, he had already said, "Because the tiger does not care about the kitten at all, and does not even care about it." "Young master, now that you mention it, I understand." The middle-aged guard suddenly came to a realization. At the same time, he couldn't help but sigh at his young master's high cultivation level. If it were him, he definitely wouldn't be able to keep his composure. "Uncle He, as usual. If there's anything, throw the bell in. Usually, I don't wake up on my own." After greeting the middle-aged guard, Zhou Donghuang sat cross-legged in the carriage and continued to practice the Lord of the Four Supremes. After that, the journey back was calm and peaceful. No one came forward to cause trouble. And the reason for this was that the Fergana horse carriage that Zhou Donghuang sat in was too conspicuous, and the bandits hidden along the road thought that it was the carriage of the leader of the Green Wolf Bastion. Between Qingshan Town and Ningping Town, there were only 2 horse bandit camps that could compare to Green Wolf Bastion. The other bandit camps were far weaker than the Green Wolf Bastion. Because of this, no one dared to provoke the Fergana horse carriage that most likely belonged to the leader of Green Wolf Bastion. Occasionally, 1 or 2 wild beasts would come forward, but they were all repelled or killed by the middle-aged guard driving the carriage. On the afternoon of the 25th of the 12th month, 1227 of the Ziyun era, Zhou Donghuang left Ningping town in his carriage and returned to Qingshan town. On the afternoon of the 26th of the 12th month, 1227 of the Ziyun era, he arrived at Qingshan town and returned to Yunxian restaurant. The round trip had taken only 3 days and 3 nights. If Zhou Donghuang had not switched to a Fergana horse to pull the carriage, he would have only just arrived at Ningping town. "Young master, you're back so soon?" Granny Lian was stunned to see Zhou Donghuang at the door. She had clearly not expected him to return so soon. Zhou Donghuang nodded as he handed over the money he had received from the Qingyun Guild in Ningping town to Granny Lian. "Someone gave me a Fergana horse on the way, and I let it pull the carriage, so the journey did not take too long." "A Fergana horse?" Granny Lian was about to ask who would be so generous, but Zhou Donghuang had already turned to leave. However, that night, Granny Lian heard from some of the guards what had happened to Zhou Donghuang on the way to Ningping town. I heard from old he that when our young master went to Ningping town this time, he encountered a group of 10 bandits led by the second-in-command of Black Tiger Bastion, Qian Tongtian. In just one encounter, he snatched Qian Tongtian's saber and killed him. Then he threw the saber 3 times and killed the remaining 9 bandits. Young master could even kill the bloody-handed butcher of the Wang family in one encounter. Qian Tongtian's ability was weaker than the bloody-handed butcher, so it is not surprising that he was killed by young master. However, I never thought that young master could throw a saber to kill. Isn't this too exaggerated? Is old he exaggerating? Old he is famous for his honesty. I have known him for many years, and I know him well. He would never lie. Granny Lien could never have imagined that the Fergana horse that her young master had mentioned was actually a trophy from killing the second-in-command of Black Tiger Bastion, Qian Tongtian. Young master, he can even tame a mature Fergana horse? Even though Granny Lien knew that her young master was very resourceful, she could not help but be shocked when she heard this. She even thought again, in this world, was there anything that her young master couldn't do? On the other side. Passing by Lin Lan's room, Zhou Donghuang realized that she was practicing behind closed doors, but he did not disturb her and went straight to his room. The seal in my body was broken on the morning of the 15th day of the 12th month of the year 1997 in the Ziyun era. It was also at that time that I began practicing. When I attained level 1 of Qi gathering, the night of the 24th day of the 12th month of the year 1997 in the Ziyun era had just fallen. That is to say, in less than 10 days, I attained level 1 of Qi gathering. Sitting on the bed, Zhou Donghuang murmured to himself. That's still within expectations. Moving from level 1 to level 2 of Qi gathering will take a longer time, probably about 20 days. Fortunately, Zhou Donghuang's words were not heard by anyone else, or they would have been infuriated. Advancing from level 1 of Qi gathering to level 2 of Qi gathering would only take about 20 days, and he was complaining that it was taking too long? The people of the country of Yunyang generally began practicing at the age of 11 or 12. It was not that they did not want to start practicing earlier, but they could only start practicing after their bodies had begun to develop. Some people who practiced before they had fully developed not only made slow progress but also affected their development, resulting in incurable illnesses. It was said that in the country of Yunyang, there was a miraculous elixir that could allow one to begin practicing from the age of 3 or 4 after consuming it. Furthermore, it would not affect the body. However, such a miraculous elixir had never appeared in the country of Yunyang, and to the people of the country of Yunyang, it was only an illusory legend. In the history of the country of Yunyang, the person who set the record for the fastest practice began practicing at the age of 11, attained level 1 of Qi gathering at the age of 13, level 2 of Qi gathering at the age of 14, level 3 of Qi gathering at the age of 16, and level 4 of Qi gathering at the age of 20. From nothing to level 1 of Qi gathering, he spent 2 years. From level 1 of Qi gathering to level 2 of Qi gathering, he spent only a year. This was also because he had already familiarized himself with practicing, unlike when he had to slowly fumble and get used to level 1 of Qi gathering, thus wasting a lot of unnecessary time. For an ordinary person, when they first started practicing, even with the guidance of practice, they would still take some detours. After all, practice was only theory, and there was still a certain degree of difficulty in putting it into practice. However, Zhou Donghuang was different. With 1,000 years of memories from his previous life, he was like a fish in water on the road of practice, and because of this, his rate of practice was extremely fast. Looks like I still have to find someone to make a trip to the county city to help me buy some medicinal ingredients. If I have a Fergana horse to travel to the county city, even if I take a short break on the way, a round trip would at most take 2 days and 2 nights. When Lin Lan had first gone to the Lin family in the prefecture capital and returned, it had taken her 7 days and 7 nights, but that was because she had only used an ordinary horse. The speed of a Fergana horse was incomparable to that of an ordinary horse. As long as I have the herbs from the prefecture capital, I can formulate an even better Qi gathering elixir, and there is hope that I can successfully attain level 2 of qi gathering in half a month. Although Zhou Donghuang could make a trip to the prefecture capital to buy the herbs himself, he did not intend to do so. Because if he went personally, it would be a waste of time. Galloping on a horse to the prefecture capital, there would be no way for him to practice on the way. 2 days and 2 nights is enough for me to raise my level of practice, but if I want to find someone to go to the prefecture capital to buy the herbs, who should I look for? Zhou Donghuang thought for a moment, and his eyes lit up. Him. The Qin family was one of the 3 great lesser families of Qingshan town. The Qin family mansion occupied a large area, and it was not inferior to the Wang family mansion. In the past, Zhou Donghuang had been led by Qin Xiaoyu to the Qin family mansion a few times, but the scene then was completely different from now. Now, as soon as he reached the main entrance of the Qin family mansion, the Qin juniors guarding the gate saw him and immediately rushed in to report to the patriarch of the Qin family, Qin Long. The patriarch of the Qin family, Qin Long, also rushed out to personally welcome Zhou Donghuang. "Young Master Donghuang, are you here for Xiaoyu?" It was no secret in the Qin family that Zhou Donghuang and Qin Xiaoyu were on good terms. Because of this, after Zhou Donghuang had killed the former patriarch of the Wang family, Wang Yuquan, Qin Xiaoyu's status in the Qin family had skyrocketed. Now, even the first young master of the Qin family, Qin Fei, did not dare to pester Qin Xiaoyu like before, for fear of offending Zhou Donghuang. "I'm not here for Xiaoyu this time." Chapter 25. Young Master Donghuang, you were looking for me? Knowing that Zhou Donghuang was looking for him, Qin Yi hurriedly put down what he was doing and rushed to the Qin family's drawing room. Qin Yi was the previous patriarch of the Qin family and the only level 2 adept in the Qin family. In Qingshan town, he was as famous as Wang Yuquan, and his ability was comparable to Wang Yuquan's. However, in front of Zhou Donghuang, who had killed Wang Yuquan with a single blow, Qin Yi, the big shot of Qingshan town, did not dare to put on airs at all. His posture was extremely humble. "Yes." Zhou Donghuang nodded lightly. "I have come this time to seek the help of old patriarch Qin. Young Master Donghuang, please speak your mind. As long as I, Qin Yi, can do it, I will definitely help you do it properly." Qin Yi made a solemn vow. Looking at his posture, it seemed like he would not hesitate to go through fire and water for Zhou Donghuang. "I would like to invite old patriarch Qin to ride a Fergana horse and rush to the county city at the fastest speed to buy some medicinal ingredients for me." As Zhou Donghuang spoke, he took out a piece of paper filled with the names of herbs. "Of course, you don't have to buy all of them, just buy as much as you can. Just a small matter." Without any hesitation, Qin Yi reached out to take the paper and vowed, "Young Master Donghuang, within 2 days, I will definitely bring back the herbs you need. Of course, I won't let you help for free." Zhou Donghuang took out a roll of paper from his sleeve and handed it to Qin Yi. "Young Master Donghuang, you don't have to stand on ceremony with me, it is my honor to be able to work for you." This time, Qin Yi did not reach out to take the paper from Zhou Donghuang. In his view, what could be more valuable than a favor from this young Master Donghuang? If he accepted this, wouldn't his favor with young Master Donghuang be gone? Zhou Donghuang, only 16 years old, had killed Wang Yuquan with a single blow. Wang Yuquan's strength was not inferior to his. In fact, if they were to engage in a life-and-death battle, he might not even be a match for Wang Yuquan. Yet, such a person was killed by the young man before him with a single palm strike. He knew very well what this meant. 16 years old and already so terrifying. If Zhou Donghuang could grow up successfully in the future, let alone Qingshan town, even the prefecture capital, the royal city, or even the entire country of Yunyang, would not be able to contain him. If he, and even the Qin clan, could form a relationship with such a person, it would only be beneficial to them. Old Patriarch Qin, this is a martial art technique. Zhou Donghuang smiled and said, "Are you sure, you want to represent the Qin family and give up on this technique? Martial arts moves?" Zhou Donghuang's words reached Qin Yi's ears. Although his voice was soft, Qin Yi was stunned. His eyes narrowed, and a fanatical look appeared on his face. In the next moment, without any hesitation, Qin Yi reached out with lightning speed and took the scroll from Zhou Donghuang. He opened it and read it. A moment later, his pupils contracted sharply, and his hand trembled in fright. The paper almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, he reacted in time and caught it. Weighted sand palm. Third grade offensive martial art? Qin Yi had originally thought that the technique that Zhou Donghuang had passed to him was a lesser-grade technique. Even so, if the Qin family could obtain it, it would be a great opportunity. But now, looking at the words written on the paper that Zhou Donghuang had passed to him, he realized this was not a lesser-grade technique, but a third-grade technique. In the country of Yunyang, only the royal family and the imperial family had third-grade techniques. Who is this young master Donghuang? He gave me the Qin family's third-grade technique just because I helped him run errands for 2 days? Qin Yi had lived for more than 60 years, and this was the first time he had been so impatient. If a lesser-grade technique was something that he could only dream of, then, this third-grade technique was something that he did not even dare to dream of. Young Master Donghuang, you'd better take it back. Qin Yi smiled bitterly as he handed the piece of paper with the third-grade offensive technique, weighted sand palm, back to Zhou Donghuang. But Zhou Donghuang did not extend his hand to take it. "Chief Qin, I'm giving the Qin family this technique not only as a reward, but also in the hope that the Qin family can give me a promise. In the future, you must treat Xiaoyu well and not force her to do anything she does not want to do." The Qin family was a lesser family. Most of the time, the women of the Qin family did not have the right to decide their own marriage. Sooner or later, he would have to leave Qingshan town, so before he left, he hoped to make arrangements for his little sister, Qin Xiaoyu. "Young Master Donghuang, even if you do not give the Qin family this technique, the Qin family will not mistreat Xiaoyu and force her to do anything she does not want to do. On this, you can rest assured," Qin Yi said solemnly. Qin Yi said solemnly, "You'd better take back this martial art. The Qin family can't afford it." Even if Zhou Donghuang dared to give a third-grade technique, Qin Yi would not dare accept it. It could be imagined that once the news that the Qin family possessed a third-grade technique got out, the Qin family would be in deep trouble. Not to mention the preeminent families, even the more powerful grand families and tycoon families would be tempted by a third-grade technique, and would even resort to unscrupulous means to obtain it. Cannot accept it? Zhou Donghuang did not understand at first, but as Qin Yi spoke, he suddenly understood, because he had not thought so much before. He had only felt that by giving the Qin family a third-grade technique, he was giving the Qin family an opportunity, so that the Qin family would treat Qin Xiaoyu well in the future. That is to say, you dare not accept a third-grade technique, but if it is a lesser-grade technique, you dare to accept it? Zhou Donghuang raised his eyebrows and continued muttering, "However, I really do not have any lesser-grade techniques. A third-grade technique is already the worst technique I have." Zhou Donghuang's voice was not soft, and Qin Yi heard it as well, causing Qin Yi to tremble in fear. From what this young master Donghuang was saying, he had a technique that was even better than a third-grade technique? A technique that is better than a third-grade technique is a second-grade technique. In our country of Yunyang, it seems that only the imperial family has a second-grade technique, right? Qin Yi was so frightened that his breathing quickened, and his chest rose and fell like a bellows, unable to calm down for a long time. "Forget it, since you want a lesser-grade technique, then I will modify this weighted sand palm and weaken its power to the level of a lesser-grade technique." Zhou Donghuang took the piece of paper from Qin Yi's hands and asked for a pen from Qin Yi, then began scribbling on the paper. After about 15 minutes, Zhou Donghuang passed the paper back to Qin Yi. "Done. Now, even if you practice this technique to the extreme, it will only be able to unleash the power of a lesser-grade technique. Now, you can rest assured, right? Zhou Donghuang looked at Qin Yi. Qin Yi received the paper with trembling hands, and as he looked at the palm technique that had been scribbled on it, his heart filled with shock. Originally, he had not believed that Zhou Donghuang could modify the technique himself. This was because people who had the ability to modify techniques could usually create their own techniques. In the history of Yunyang country, there had never been such a nature-defying person, had there? Now, as he looked at the words on the paper, it was not difficult for Qin Yi's eyes to discern this was indeed a lesser-grade palm technique. You can pay for the herbs first. As for the Fergana horse, your Wang family should have it, so I will not lend it to you. While Qin Yi was still in shock, Zhou Donghuang had already walked out of the Qin family drawing room, and his voice could be heard from afar. When Qin Yi regained his senses, Zhou Donghuang had already disappeared. This young master Donghuang, who is he? Qin Yi's eyes were filled with seriousness. Although he had lived for more than 60 years, he felt that he could not understand this 16-year-old youth at all. Taking a deep breath, Qin Yi carefully put away the lesser-grade palm technique in his hand and went directly to his son, the current chief of the Qin family, Qin Long. These few days, send out invitations. Just say that I, Qin Yi, will be hosting a banquet in 10 days' time and will accept Qin Xiaoyu as my adopted daughter. Qin Yi's expression was serious as he said to Qin Long, send 2 invitations to Yunxian restaurant, one for Zhou Donghuang and one for Lin Lan. Father, why do you suddenly want to accept Xiaoyu as your adopted daughter? Qin Long felt that this was a little exaggerated. Even if Zhou Donghuang and Qin Xiaoyu were on good terms, was there a need for this? Once his father accepted Qin Xiaoyu as his adopted daughter, then Qin Xiaoyu would become his adopted sister, and even his son Qin Fei would have to address her as little aunt. Take a look at this. Qin Yi took out a piece of paper and carefully handed it to Qin Long. It was the piece of paper that Zhou Donghuang had altered. This is, at first, Qin Long did not think much of it, but when he finished reading the words on the paper, his expression changed drastically. A martial arts technique? To be precise, this is a martial arts technique that Zhou Donghuang has given to the Qin family. Qin Yi said, now, do you understand my decision? Father, I will do it right away. Qin Long took a deep breath and tried hard to suppress the excitement in his heart. After handing the paper back to Qin Yi, he left hurriedly. He naturally knew what a martial arts technique meant to the Qin family. To the Qin family, this was a great opportunity. Not long after Qin Long left, Qin Yi rode out of the Qin family on his Fergana horse and left Qingshan town for the prefecture capital. On the other side, Zhou Donghuang, who had returned to his room in the courtyard behind Yunxian restaurant, shook his head lightly. I had forgotten that in the country of Yunyang, a third-grade technique is enough to cause a bloodbath. I gave the third-grade swiftness technique, star-stepping footwork, to the second-in-command of Green Wolf Bastion, Freezing Wind. It looks like I was not helping him, but harming him. I can only hope that he will be smart and keep a low profile. Zhou Donghuang thought to himself. This time, with Qin Yi hurrying to the prefecture capital to buy the herbs, I will definitely be able to obtain those herbs in the shortest time possible. This way, I will be able to formulate a better qi-gathering elixir as quickly as possible. Before he began to practice, a look of anticipation flashed across Zhou Donghuang's eyes. Traveling from Qingshan town to the prefecture capital was actually far safer than traveling from Qingshan town to a small town like Ningping town. There were official roads between the prefecture capital and the various small towns, and there would often be strong practitioners of the governor's household patrolling the official roads in disguise. Ordinary bandits would not dare to take the risk of robbing passers-by on the official roads. However, there would definitely be many bold bandits who would take the risk if they traveled on Fergana horses. In order to avoid unnecessary complications, Zhou Donghuang had thought of letting the level 2 adept of the Qin family help him make a trip to the prefecture capital to buy the herbs he needed. Chapter 26. Early morning, December 27, 1227 of the Ziyun era. Zhou Donghuang was having breakfast with Lin Lan in the dining room when Granny Lian suddenly rushed in from outside. She was holding 2 invitations in her hands. "Miss, these are invitations personally sent by the patriarch of the Qin family, Qin Long. He says they are for you and young master." Granny Lian placed the invitations on the dining table and left. "Invitations?" Lin Lan was taken aback. Did something good happen in the Qin family recently? A moment later, Lin Lan opened the invitation and had a look of astonishment. "This. The old master of the Qin family wants to adopt little Yu as his daughter? Isn't this too much?" In Lin Lan's opinion, the patriarch of the Qin family, Qin Yi, was already in his 60s, and Qin Xiaoyu was only 11. Even Qin Yi's grandson was much older than Qin Xiaoyu. And now, Qin Yi wanted to adopt Qin Xiaoyu? Zhou Donghuang was also taken aback by Lin Lan's words. He immediately picked up the other invitation and shook his head with a smile. That patriarch of the Qin family is really particular. However, he was still very satisfied with Qin Yi's actions. At least, in the future, as long as the Qin family did not fall, Qin Xiaoyu would have no worries for the rest of her life. Although Qin Xiaoyu was not his biological sister, he had long regarded her as his own after a few years together. "Donghuang, is it because of you?" Lin Lan could easily guess the reason for Qin Yi's actions. "But even if the Qin family is afraid of you and does not dare to neglect Xiaoyu, it shouldn't be this exaggerated, right? What if I had given a lesser-grade palm technique to the Qin family?" Zhou Donghuang countered. Lin Lan suddenly understood. No wonder, as for why Zhou Donghuang had given the technique to the Qin family, she did not ask, because she knew that her son must have his reasons for doing so. "Mother, how has your practice been recently?" Zhou Donghuang asked Lin Lan. Although he knew that Lin Lan had been concentrating on practicing these days, he did not know her progress. "Donghuang, the technique you gave mother is amazing. While taking the qi gathering elixir that you formulated and practicing that technique, my practice has improved rapidly." Hearing Zhou Donghuang mention her practice, Lin Lan's eyebrows danced, and she was in high spirits. In less than a month, mother is confident of returning to level 1 of qi gathering. Although Lin Lan's talent was worlds apart from Zhou Donghuang's. However, Lin Lan was originally a level 1 adept of qi gathering, and even though she had lost all her qi and had to start all over again, the meridians in her body that had long since expanded had not shrunk. Now, all she had to do was refill her meridians with qi, and she would be able to regain her level 1 of qi gathering. Therefore, she was able to regain level 1 of qi gathering very quickly. "Mother, when you don't have time to cultivate, you can try to master these 2 martial arts." Zhou Donghuang passed 2 pieces of paper to Lin Lan. Recorded on them were the 3rd-grade techniques, star-stepping footwork and weighted sand palm. The 2 martial arts techniques that he had given to the second-in-command of Black Tiger Bastion, Freezing Wind, and the Qin family had actually been written down by Zhou Donghuang for Lin Lan, but because Lin Lan had been training behind closed doors, he had not had the chance to give them to her. He had just woken up this morning and written out these 2 copies. Martial arts? Lin Lan's eyes lit up, and she hurriedly reached out to take the 2 pieces of paper from Zhou Donghuang. As she opened one of them, her eyes narrowed. Weighted sand palm, this is a 3rd-grade technique? Lin Lan looked away from the paper in her hands with some difficulty and raised her head to look at Zhou Donghuang, her face full of disbelief. The other, star-stepping footwork, is also a 3rd-grade technique. Zhou Donghuang smiled. 3rd-grade swiftness technique? Looking at the star-stepping footwork recorded on the other piece of paper, Lin Lan was so shocked that she was completely numb. In the country of Yunyang, it was said that only the royal family and the imperial family had third-grade techniques, but her son had not only casually produced them, he had produced two at once. In this period of time, Zhou Donghuang had given Lin Lan too many shocks, so this time, Lin Lan recovered very quickly. After hurriedly finishing her meal, Lin Lan bade Zhou Donghuang farewell and left the dining hall to practice the martial arts she had just obtained in the backyard. To Zhou Donghuang, third-grade techniques were the lowest level of martial arts in the 1,000 years of memory from his previous life, and they were no different from rubbish. But to Lin Lan, they were priceless treasures. After finishing his breakfast alone, Zhou Donghuang also returned to his room to practice. What surprised him was that the Qin family's grand patriarch, Qin Yi, came looking for him at noon the next day. He was travel-worn, and there were obvious dark circles around his eyes. "Young Master Donghuang, I only bought 2/3 of the herbs you wanted. I went to all the medicine shops in the prefecture capital, but they were all out of stock," Qin Yi said somewhat guiltily. "Grand Patriarch Qin, you don't have to blame yourself, this is already much better than I imagined. Go back and rest first, I'll go to the Qin family to settle the bill for these herbs with you another day." Zhou Donghuang smiled as he looked at Qin Yi, and his gaze became friendlier. In less than 2 days and 2 nights, Qin Yi had returned from the prefecture capital. Even with the Fergana horse, it was impossible for him to have any time to rest on the road. It was obvious that Qin Yi had not rested during the entire journey. Even a level 2 adept would be under a lot of pressure after 2 nights without rest, and Zhou Donghuang could not help but be moved by Qin Yi's actions. "Young Master Donghuang, these herbs were given to you by the Qin family. If you talk about money, don't blame me for falling out." Seeing Zhou Donghuang mention money, Qin Yi's expression turned ugly. "Compared to what young Master Donghuang has given the Qin family, what is this little bit of stuff?" "All right, as Grand Patriarch Qin will do." "Grand Patriarch Qin, quickly go back and rest." Now, Zhou Donghuang also hoped that Qin Yi would quickly go back and rest, and was no longer obsessed with the money that Qin Yi had used to buy the herbs. In the future, he would find another way to repay Qin Yi's favor. After Qin Yi left, Zhou Donghuang muttered to himself, "In another 8 days, it will be the day that Qin Yi takes Xiaoyu as his adopted daughter. When that time comes, I'll give him and the Qin family a martial art technique. I'll modify the star-stepping footwork and make it an uninitiated swiftness technique for him." Very quickly, Zhou Donghuang came to a decision. Whether it was in his previous life or now, the last thing he wanted to owe was a favor. Just like those old acquaintances who had helped Zhou Donghuang on Earth in his previous life, he had already returned the favor. In this life, he did not go to Earth, and those people were destined to no longer help him, but he still intended to return to Earth to help them solve their problems. A small favor should be returned with a spring. This was Zhou Donghuang's basic philosophy. The 31st day of the 12th month of the year 1227 of the Ziyun era was the last day of the year 1227 of the Ziyun era. On this day, the Li family of the prefecture capital was not at peace. "Second young master, you must avenge me." The middle-aged junior of the Li family of the prefecture capital whose limbs had been maimed by Zhou Donghuang was finally sent back to the Li family of the prefecture capital by someone whom Zhou Donghuang had instructed the chief steward of Yunxian restaurant, Fu, to find. The Li family of the prefecture capital was a preeminent family, and the lesser families of small towns could not compare to it. In the lesser families of small towns, the most powerful person was usually a level 2 adept of qi gathering. In the preeminent families, level 2 adepts of qi gathering were as common as the hairs on a cow. In the lesser families of small towns, level 1 adepts of qi gathering could be made an exception and promoted to elder, but in the preeminent families, only level 3 adepts of qi gathering could be made an exception and promoted to elder. This was the difference between a lesser family and a preeminent family. Of course, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was, a preeminent family needed at least a level 4 adept of qi gathering to hold down the fort. A family without a level 4 adept would not be recognized as a preeminent family. No matter how many level 3 adepts the family had, as long as they did not have a level 4 adept, they would still be considered a lesser family. Of course, such lesser families usually only existed in the prefecture capital, because they did not want to stay in small towns. Who did it? A plain-looking young man in embroidered robes asked calmly with a slight frown as he looked at the middle-aged man on the stretcher. He was the second young master of the Li family of the prefecture capital, Li Pingyun, the only son of the patriarch of the Li family, and the heir to the position of patriarch of the Li family. If nothing unexpected happened, he would be the future patriarch of the Li family. It's the new owner of Yunxian restaurant in Qingshan town, Zhou Donghuang. I followed your orders to buy Yunxian restaurant from him, and not only did he say that you were delusional, he even crippled my arms and legs. The middle-aged man's expression was savage, and his eyes were filled with hatred as he said in a low voice, he said to spare my life, and let me tell you, second young master, if you dare have designs on his Yunxian restaurant again, you will end up like me. With his arms and legs crippled, his life was doomed. The only thought the middle-aged man had now was to add fuel to the fire and infuriate the second young master of the Li family so that he could find someone to kill Zhou Donghuang and avenge him. Of course, what he said was not entirely a lie. At least, Zhou Donghuang was indeed unwilling to sell Yunxian restaurant to the second young master of the Li family. Isn't he a martial invalid? You, a level 2 adept of qi gathering, were crippled by him? Are you joking? Although Li Pingyun's tone remained calm, deep in his eyes, the flames of anger were already burning fiercely and uncontrollably. A lad from a small town dared to say that he would cripple Li Pingyun's arms and legs? Besides, Li Pingyun did not believe that a 16-year-old youth could cripple the middle-aged man before him. Although this middle-aged man was only a collateral descendant of the Li family, he was still a level 2 adept of qi gathering. If he remembered correctly, the strongest person in Qingshan town was only a level 2 adept of qi gathering. Second young master, I originally thought that he was a martial invalid, but only when he attacked did I realize that he was not a martial invalid, but an adept stronger than me. The middle-aged man still had some lingering fear at the mention of Zhou Donghuang's ability. Even if he has not attained level 3 of qi gathering, I'm afraid he is close to it. Chapter 27. According to you, that Zhou Donghuang, a 16-year-old youth, is already a level 2 adept of qi gathering? Li Pingyun glanced coldly at the middle-aged man. Even among the younger generation of the prefecture capital, the two fastest people to attain level 2 of qi gathering did so at the age of 18. Now, you're telling me that Qingshan town has a 16-year-old level 2 adept of qi gathering? Obviously, Li Pingyun did not believe the middle-aged man's words. Young master, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it either. A tiny town like Qingshan town could have a 16-year-old level 2 adept, but that Zhou Donghuang's ability is indeed above mine. Seeing that Li Pingyun did not believe him, the middle-aged man panicked. I fought him head-on, and I was no match for him. Enough. Li Pingyun glanced impatiently at the middle-aged man and said to the two Li family juniors beside him, take him back to his residence. These two Li family juniors were the ones who had carried the middle-aged man here. The middle-aged man's limbs were all crippled, and he could only lie on a stretcher and be carried away. Yes, second young master. The two Li family disciples received the order and lifted the stretcher that the middle-aged man was lying on and quickly walked out of the room. Second young master, if you still want to buy that Yunxian restaurant, you must send a level 3 elder to Qingshan town. Otherwise, he will definitely not be a match for Zhou Donghuang. The middle-aged man was still loudly reminding Li Pingyun as he was carried away. After the middle-aged man had been carried out, Li Pingyun smiled disdainfully. This good-for-nothing, does he really think I'll believe him? A 16-year-old youth from a small town, a level 2 adept of qi gathering? If there really is such a person, then I, Li Pingyun, have lived these 20 years in vain? Li Pingyun, the son of the patriarch of the Li family of the prefecture capital, was a leader of the younger generation of the Li family. He was 20 years old now, and had attained level 2 of Qi gathering a year ago. However, to be able to cripple Li Dong to such an extent, it means that Zhou Donghuang does indeed have an adept of decent ability by his side, at least, someone stronger than Li Dong. But it is impossible for him to be a level 3 adept. After all, if he had a level 3 adept by his side, even on account of that adept, the Lin family of the prefecture capital would not have punished his mother, Lin Lan, over an outdated formula for a blood-staunching elixir. It had to be said that Li Pingyun was very meticulous. And he had indeed guessed correctly. There were no level 3 adepts at Zhou Donghuang's side. Tomorrow morning, we'll set off for Qingshan town. I want to see if that Zhou Donghuang dares to reject me, Li Pingyun. A cold light flashed in Li Pingyun's eyes as he muttered in a low voice. If he dares to refuse, I'll make him regret it for the rest of his life. Qingshan town. Yunxian restaurant. 3 young masters, don't you think it's inappropriate for you to do this? The innkeeper, Fu, walked out of the restaurant and looked at the 3 young men in the lead of the 4 people blocking the entrance with an ugly expression on his face. The 3 young men were dressed lavishly and had fair skin, and one could tell at a glance that they were the sons of a wealthy family. Behind one of the young men was a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was well-built, with the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear, and a sword at his waist. As he stood there, he exuded a murderous aura that deterred anyone from approaching him. Bang! Just as Ah Fu stepped out and spoke, one of the young men in blue took 2 steps forward and landed a kick on Ah Fu's chest, sending him flying and crashing heavily into the doorpost at the side of the restaurant's main entrance. Wah! Ah Fu's body brushed against the doorpost as he fell to the ground, and he spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale and bloodless. But he gritted his teeth and stood up again. 3 young masters, how do you expect Yunxian restaurant to do business by doing this? He did not know where these 3 young men had come from, but they had chased out all the customers of Yunxian restaurant the moment they arrived. Then, they had blocked the main entrance of Yunxian restaurant, not allowing anyone to enter or leave. The 2 guards that the owner of Yunxian restaurant, Zhou Donghuang, had stationed in the restaurant, who were close to level 1 of Qi gathering, had barely made a move when they were knocked down with a single punch by the middle-aged man behind the 3 young men, and they had completely lost the ability to fight. I hope the 3 young masters will not make a big deal out of this. The owner of Yunxian restaurant has a bad temper. Ah Fu said in a low voice. Ah Fu wasn't bluffing at all. The new owner of Yunxian restaurant, Zhou Donghuang, had made a name for himself by killing the level 2 adept of the Wang family, Wang Yukuan, and then he had killed the original chief steward of Yunxian restaurant, Li Xian. Later, he had maimed a man from the Li family of the prefecture capital who claimed to be a level 2 adept of Qi gathering. Putting all these together, it was not difficult to see that the owner of Yunxian restaurant had a bad temper. Your owner has a bad temper? The young man in green looked down at Ah Fu condescendingly and grinned. I heard that the owner of Yunxian restaurant, Zhou Donghuang, was only 16 years old when he killed Wang Yukuan, a level 2 adept of Qi gathering from the lesser Wang family of Qingshan town. Moreover, everyone in Qingshan town believes that he has the ability to kill a level 2 adept of Qi gathering. As the young man in green spoke, a hint of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth. 16 years old, killing a level 2 adept of Qi gathering? Whoever believes that would be a fool. Especially when some people say that they saw it with their own eyes. In my opinion, they must have received a lot of money from the owner of Yunxian restaurant. A look of contempt flashed across the eyes of the last young man in yellow. Does he think that by paying people to say this everywhere, he can scare people and protect Yunxian restaurant? I have to say, he is very naive. I'll give you a chance, someone, summon the owner of Yunxian restaurant, Zhou Donghuang. The young man in blue who had sent Ah Fu flying with a kick said with a cold smile. Who are they? I don't know. Looking at their demeanor, they are obviously not ordinary people. Even the young masters of the three great lesser families of Qingshan town are not as impressive as them. They must be outsiders. They actually don't believe that young master Dong Huang of Yunxian restaurant killed Wang Yukuan? They actually think that we were paid to help young master Dong Huang brag? Outside the main entrance of Yunxian restaurant, many people had gathered to watch. And just as the young man in blue ordered the staff of Yunxian restaurant to summon Zhou Dong Huang, there was a sudden commotion in the crowd. Many people unconsciously turned their heads. With just a glance, they saw a handsome youth dressed in snow-white robes with a hint of immaturity. His expression was calm as he walked slowly toward Yunxian restaurant from afar. Young Master Dong Huang. Young Master Dong Huang. The crowd parted to make a path and bowed respectfully to the youth. Boss. Ah Fu dragged his heavily injured body and gritted his teeth as he stepped forward to greet Zhou Dong Huang. When he reached Zhou Dong Huang, Ah Fu lowered his head in shame, like a child who had done something wrong. Boss, I am useless, I did not manage Yunxian restaurant for you. Boss, please find someone else to take my place. I, Ah Fu, am not fit to be the chief steward of Yunxian restaurant. Who injured you? Seeing Ah Fu injured to this extent, Zhou Dong Huang's expression did not change as he asked calmly. Ah Fu did not react. I asked you, who injured you? Zhou Dong Huang asked again. Before Ah Fu could speak, the young man in blue who had struck Ah Fu had already looked at Zhou Dong Huang and said, You are the boss of Yunxian restaurant, Zhou Dong Huang? I was the one who injured him. Why? You still want to avenge him? As he said this, the young man in blue's mouth turned up in a cold smile as he looked at Zhou Dong Huang with disdain. Which leg? Zhou Dong Huang only glanced lightly at the young man in blue before looking back at Ah Fu. This time, Ah Fu had already reacted. Hearing Zhou Dong Huang's words, he subconsciously glanced at the young man in blue's right leg. And just as Ah Fu's gaze was fixed on the young man's right leg, without any warning, Zhou Dong Huang moved. Whoosh! Zhou Dong Huang's figure flashed like a bolt of white lightning, flashing before the eyes of the crowd and heading straight for the young man in blue. Stop! The middle-aged man standing behind the young man in blue was the first to react. His expression changed as he drew the curved sword at his waist. Crack! 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 Almost as soon as the middle-aged man drew his sword, the crisp sound of bones breaking rang out, followed by a scream. Ah, the scream was so shrill that the onlookers felt their scalps go numb just hearing it. It was hard to imagine how much pain it must have been to cause such a shrill scream. Just then, the onlookers who had regained their composure saw, the young man in blue had already fallen to the ground, and half of his calf had been stepped on by Zhou Dong Huang. The young man's calf was almost parallel to the ground, and he had been crushed into a meat patty. After a series of screams, the young man in blue finally fainted from the pain. Half of his calf has been crushed, even a superior-level medicine master would not be able to cure his leg, would he? Even a legendary Earth-level medicine master, or even a Heaven-level medicine master, would not be able to get him to stand up again, much less a superior-level medicine master. This young master Dong Huang of Yunxian restaurant is too scary. I feel that no one who dares to provoke him is unscathed. However, he treats those around him very well. This time, he was only acting so viciously because he wanted to stand up for Chief Steward Fu of Yunxian restaurant. Just looking at the calf of the young man in blue, which had been crushed into a meat patty, the onlookers could not help but feel their scalps go numb. Boss. After Fu recovered from his shock, he looked at Zhou Dong Huang with a gaze full of determination. It was also at this moment. In Fu's heart, this boss, Zhou Dong Huang, had become more important than his own life. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.